And we're going to share the screen. Let's see if I can do that. Can you guys see this?
Yep.
Y'all can see? Okay. All right, it's funny. This is actually a lecture that's going on live right now at Penn State about racism, about how they came up with the different races. So if you guys are interested in that, I suggest you guys go back and watch that. That's the Penn State, excuse me, Penn Museum, Live Biomedicine and Race. So it's giving breaking down the different or how there are no differences in race really, but how they try to make all these different divisions of race when there are really none. Right here, this part, they're just showing how they were saying that the brain, the bigger your brain is, the more intelligent you are. They were actually showing that Einstein's brain was smaller than the average brain, and he was considered one of the smartest people. That's not what we're doing today, but I suggest you guys go ahead and check that out. Check that out. All right. And we're going to take that one out. All right, so we're going to deal with a lot of the, the last class, or last week's, the end of last week's class. Everybody, if you're tuning in, make sure you mute your phone. So at the end of last week's class, we were basically going over the documents. And we're going to continue that. So we're going to go over some stuff actually that we didn't get into last week. We're going to finish up some stuff. Bam. So what show? All right. So actually, some stuff got cut off of one of the other shows, so I'm going to just go over that really quick. A couple of those definitions, and that was from the second class. And if you didn't see that, we were one of the things that got erased was a few of the things, but one of the main ones was when you're trying to break yourself from contract or free yourself from the system. How they've gotten you connected to the system is that straw man, you know, that all capital name that they put in the system to create a nexus between the corporation, the United States of America, Inc., and yourself. Because a corporation doesn't have a body, so they can't physically connect with you, especially a sovereign, unless the sovereign initiates it. So what they had to do is create that corporation, that false person out of you, basically a trust, really, and then you're basically just feeding that entity, and they're sucking everything out of that entity. So what that's called is sorry. So what that's hold on. What that's called is capitis diminutio maxima or media. Okay, so we're gonna look at that definition really quick. If I can find it. Oh no. Let me try it. Not there. Is that it? So the reason we're doing that, this is the main thing of how they got you, or how they got you locked up in the system. If I can find it. All right, here it is. So in your Black's Law Dictionary, you guys should have this locked up, have this all highlighted up. So capitis diminutio, that's the first part of it. And again, the reason we look at Latin is because this is what the learned people of law, they don't understand Latin. And hold on, somebody can't get in for some reason. So capitis diminutio, a diminishing or abridgment of personality, okay? A loss or curtailment of a man's status or aggregate of legal attributes and qualifications. So hold on, somebody's trying to get in. I have to resend their email.
EU.
Who was that?
Stray. What you mean? What's that?
I should have known. Know who the hell that was. All right. So hold on 1 second, people. Sorry, brothers on the last minute. All right, somebody tried to get in at the last minute and they didn't have the thing didn't work. All right. So capitis diminutio maxima and media are really the two things that are going on. So capitis diminutio maxima, the highest or most comprehensive loss of status, okay? This occurred when a man's condition was changed from one of freedom to one of bondage. When he became a slave, it swept away with it all rights of citizenship and all family rights, okay? That's basically when they put you in jail. So this is more so what we're under now is media, capitis diminutio media, a lesser or medium loss of status. This occurred when a man's loss of his rights, when a man lost his rights of citizenship, but without losing his liberty. It carried away also the family rights. So again, you've been in this class, liberty, we define liberty. Liberty is not freedom. Liberty is given freedom or freedom given to you by the government. So they'll basically, you've lost your actual rights as a citizen or the power of your citizenship, because they've actually transferred the government over to a corporation. So you don't have that anymore. But what they did is they allowed you to still roam free. And so you still have perception of freedom, but your body's able to roam, but everything else is locked up. Also another term. So we didn't show this before. This is dictionary banking terms. I hope you guys got that. You need to get this. This is this goes to the system we're in. We're in the maritime admiralty law system, which is the law of the merchant, or merchant meaning money. Okay, so transactions, commercial transactions. And within this book, it states, if I can find it, it talks about a where'd it go? So this gives the definition. So you have what's called that birth certificate. All right, we're just doing a recap really quick before we get into the document writing. So you need to understand certain things that are going to be in your document. So right now, everybody, mute your phone. If you just ringed in, mute your phone. You know how it go down. All right, hold on. All right. So this is in the dictionary of banking terms. A certificate, your birth certificate, as in your birth certificate, I should say. A certificate, paper establishing an ownership claim, also an assertion of facts. Okay. So who is the owner within your birth certificate? Okay, we're going to get all that when we go through the other parts of the affidavits to get you out of the system. There was another thing I wanted to go over because I don't think we actually showed this. So the first time driver, one employed in conducting or operating a coach, carriage, wagon, or vehicle, coach, wagon, or other vehicle with horses, mules, or other animals, or a bicycle, tricycle, or motor car, though not street rail car. A person actually doing driving, whether employed by owner to drive or driving for his own vehicle. So this is going back to the travel affidavit. Okay, your affidavit or your affidavit of right to travel. All right. So passenger, a person whom a common carrier has contracted to carry from one place to another and has, in the course of the performance of that contract, received under his care either upon means of conveyance or at the point of departure of that means of conveyance. All right, everything is business. So where's the... oh, where'd it go? All right, here we go. Delivery. That's the main one. So again, because we have a word that we're going to look over today, and I wanted you guys to get this. So delivery. Remember, you're being delivered. You're in a delivery room being delivered or delivered to the doctor or the dock, like the Admiralty shipping terms. Your vessel being pulled in, coming down the berth canal, pulling into the dock, being delivered. Okay, like a parcel. So the act by which the res, okay, I mean, you guys should know this. You guys should have written this word down and had it already. The act by which the res or substance thereof is placed within the actual or constructive possession or control of another, right? So we just looked at birth certificate. Okay, so you got a birth certificate and you're in the delivery room. Both said, one said certificate, a paper establishing an ownership claim in a thing, and delivery, the act by which that res, and res, we're going to look up res in a minute, the act by which the res or substance thereof is placed in the actual control, constructive possession or control of another. Okay, that would be all of you.
So, Kev, what up, by the way? Is that the reason why they differentiated the BERTH and the BIRTH, just so you can defer from the res and the substance?
Well, that's a trick. BIRTH and BERTH are the same word. Look up the etymology, look up birth of both. You should have your Oxford Dictionary of Etymology, of English etymology. And you should be, if anyone has that, it should say it in there. If you look up BIRTH or look up BERTH. That's the shipping birth. They just put an I there like it meant something. It's the same damn word though.
Well, I meant to say to differentiate. Let's just say you were speaking in circles that knew what you were talking about. So when you referred to the birth, they were like, what do you mean, the thing? Or do you mean the substance or the person? So on paper, you would have to differentiate by adding the I or adding the E, just to know what you're talking about or referring to.
Well, no, there is no person nor the thing. That's my point.
Okay, understood.
Birth is only for ships. Birth was never meant for a person.
Is that where residue comes from? The word residue?
The prefix. So when you're looking up, this is why you guys should get a Latin dictionary. So when you're looking up words, and you guys should be wordsmiths towards the end of this stuff. When you're looking up words, you're going to learn, once you learn the prefix for certain words, especially as far as the Latin prefix, it all means a certain thing. Okay, so you can find out a word usually if you learn just the prefix of the word. Okay, so like capital and captain and all these.
That's how I do it.
All these different things go back to a word called kaput, which means the head, from the head of cattle that they used to count. That's why all of it goes back to cattle. So you can link all these different words if you understood just the prefix of that term, C-A-P, cap, which comes from kaput, which means head, which also goes back to head of cattle or chattel. So there's being a wordsmith will serve you well in doing this. So there's a definition that we had. Oops. So we just looked up, we're gonna go over all of these in a bit. Oops. Is that it? I think I passed it. Oops. So does anybody have their Black's Law really quick so you can read along with it? You can. Anyone?
Yep.
All right. Damn.
That's you, Will.
Man, sorry if you hear loud noises because I'm tapping on the screen. What are we looking up?
Because you what? Because
I'm tapping on my screen.
Oh. It should be in here. So I just want to get there. It is. All right.
We're looking at res.
Yeah, go read. So go ahead, read it.
Don't want me to just read what's on screen?
The hell are you doing?
What?
The hell are you doing?
I am scrolling on my screen. I told you that's what I was doing.
All right, so break it down.
Okay. Anyways, do you want me to just read what's on screen so we can keep moving out of me and hold this up?
Never mind, I got it.
All right, cool. Thank you. Appreciate it.
I got it. All right, Red.
Okay.
Being prepared.
Finally got it. Anyways, res, Latin, in the civil law, a thing, an object. As a term of the law, this word has a very wide and extensive signification, including not only things which are objects of property, but also such as are not capable of individual ownership. Darn.
Mm-hmm.
And in Old English law, it is said to have a general import, comprehending both corporeal and incorporeal things of whatever kind, nature or species.
Bam. Nature or species. What is corporeal and incorporeal?
Tangible, intangible.
Have bodies, like they're living and living.
Yes. Anything that can be touched, corporeal, something that has a form, and incorporeal, something that doesn't have form, like an idea, a right, or privilege, or something like that. So the res, okay? Res, a thing, an object. So going back to the doctor, the delivery, as we saw before, and that said the act by which the res is delivered. So you are the thing, right? You are the thing that's being handed over. So there's another term, because we're going over these documents. So a lot of these terms we went over. So Latin again, this is the main term. I've said this, or we went over this term a few times. This is going to be the one that free you. Naturale est quid liber de dissolvi eo modo colligator. It is natural for a thing, or the res, to be unbound in the same way in which it was bound. Okay? You are emancipating you're freeing your res, or the thing, right? So let's look over this document. Actually, before we look in the document, there's a few definitions that we did not go over on Wednesday. Thursday. So we went over that. Loyal. Trust. Hold on. Did we get over this? All right, here we go. So there's a few things that you're going to be, when you're connecting to this land, when you're connecting back to your rights to the land, because you're autochthon or Aboriginal, descendant of the Aboriginal inhabitants of the land. So I just want you guys to understand the different terms that they tried to use to separate you from the land. Okay, so Indian is one of them. A separate and distinct community or body of the Aboriginal Indian race of men found in the United States. Okay, in the United States. I want you guys to understand terms. When they use words, they didn't say they're found in the Americas. They said found in the United States. That's not America. All right. So that's an Indian tribe. So as we went over before, Indian tribe goes back to the word tributary. Okay. When you're paying tribute to someone, you're a subservient body when you're paying tribute to someone. Okay, and we're going to see that in a minute. We have a couple of treaties that we didn't go over last time. That was some of the things that we didn't do. So as you'll see in those treaties, you'll see a subservient role being placed upon the Aboriginal Americans in that agreement. So then just Indians without the tribe on the end. Okay, see how this is a different. So Indian tribe, a separate and distinct community or body of the Aboriginal race of men found in the United States. See, what does that mean? A separate and distinct community or body of the Aboriginal Indian race of men found in the United States.
There's another body somewhere that's separate to that one.
But then you go down to Indian with no tribe, and you see the Aboriginal inhabitants of North America. What happened to the United States?
What the hell?
See the difference between United States and then Aboriginal inhabitants of North America with no tribe. Tribe makes you subservient. It makes you a vassal to the.
Which video did you go over the connection to the Six Nations and like how do you make the claim and who verifies that you're an original inhabitant?
What do you mean that who verifies that you're an original inhabitant? That's a claim that you can make that they can't refute. So when you're as we went over before, when you're writing your documents, the African or the Aboriginal in connection that goes all the way back to the Olmecs. Yeah, you missed that one. So you have to go back and watch that one. So the documentary we showed a brief documentary breaking down the Olmecs. The Olmecs are the oldest.
Was that like Hidden Colors or something?
I think they may have mentioned the Olmecs in Hidden Colors, but you know, this documentary is if you go to my website realnoggins.com, just click on Olmecs. The video is on that page. You can watch.
Okay, because I was trying to connect to, I was trying to go through the documents and get up to speed with everybody else, and I saw something referencing like the Six Nations and the Haudenosaunee or something like that.
Haudenosaunee. Yeah.
Haudenosaunee.
Haudenosaunee, motherfucker.
Haudenosaunee. Thank you. And so I was just trying to catch up to see where that connection was made and who would be the person saying, not to be offensive or anything, I wouldn't want to be accused of being like a $5 Indian type of thing.
What's the guys who paid to be on the roll?
Exactly.
Well, first of all, that's mostly what referred to Caucasian Caucasian Native Americans. Those are the $5 Americans. You are the $5 Indians. You're not an Indian. You're an Aboriginal American. Okay? They've termed, now you can use Indian because they've termed Indian in a lot of the Indian tribes today like the word Indian. They don't like Native American because legally this is what Indian means. Indian means the Aboriginal inhabitants of North America, whereas an Indian tribe is a separate and distinct community or body of the Aboriginal race of men found in the United States. So basically what you're doing is making the claim that this landmass has existed, melanated people have existed on this landmass forever, and you're just a descendant of them. And your backing for that would be that because they try and link your lineage over here to the slave trade. Only about 500,000 slaves, if that, ever came to North America. Okay, so you have millions and millions and millions of melanated people here. How'd they get here? We've been here since the beginning, since the connection of the land masses, Pangea. So when you go and look at when you go look at the Olmec video, it'll help you to understand your connection back to this landmass. But the Olmec,
I didn't know if you had to be one of the Six Nations recognized in that confederacy. The reason I mentioned the Confederacy is because it shows the national government that they were working with. Now, within that Haudenosaunee government, you had many different tribes. You had many different tribes or Aboriginal tribes. I'm actually Lenape, or what they call Delaware Indian. I'm Cherokee and Lenape.
Hey.
And, so, who's that, Trey? Man, shut your ass up. And so, you know, I don't claim that one because they fucked over that treaty. However, what you're doing when you assert that you're an Aboriginal inhabitant of North America, what you're going to do is when you put forth all of your paperwork, you're going to give them 30 days to refute that claim. Okay, you're going to give them a certain amount of time to answer or respond to your assertion. This is all legal. The same thing they do to you in law when they send you a notice and they say you got some certain amount of days to respond. If not, this will be considered, or this your acquiescence will be considered your or presumed to be your agreement. So it's the same with them. When you send in your paperwork, you're going to assert all of these things that you're Native American, your connection is to the landmass, you're Aboriginal American, that you had been here, and that's separating you from that Dred Scott case decision where they said that anyone who's descendants of Africans imported into this country have no rights, or in this landmass has no rights. So you're getting away from that. You're reestablishing the connection to the landmass. Excuse me. Reestablishing your connection to the landmass and you're asserting that claim, and then you're going to give them 30 days to refute the claim. But you're going to put so much more in there than just that, though. It's not, you're not just asserting that. You're going to be saying so much other stuff in there, as well as severing your contracts. That's just a small part of what you're doing. Your native, your Aboriginal connection to the land, man. That's actually a small part of what you're doing. But you're going to give them 30 days. They're not going to be able to do it to respond because they're a corporation. Okay, a corporation can't respond to you like that. They can only do it in paperwork. That way, they've acquiesced, and then you're just going to proceed accordingly. Okay?
Thank you.
So I just wanted to show you guys this because you need to understand the difference in tribes or the legal terminology that they use. See, anybody who looked at this would think this said the exact same thing. These two things. An Indian tribe, oh yeah, a separate and distinct community or body of the Aboriginal Indian race of men found in the United States. People are like, oh yeah, okay. So this is a Supreme Court case too, where, okay, as you see, Montoya versus U.S., blah, 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 whatever. This is whenever you see U.S., U.S., that's a Supreme Court case. So, and then down here, just Aboriginal inhabitants of North America, right? So also in here, Indian reservation, a part of public domain set aside by proper authority, for use and occupation of tribes or Indian or tribes of Indians. See this? Reservation. What is to be reserved? Reserved is to hold back. Okay? So this is an Indian reservation. Here, you motherfuckers stay right there. Don't you step over that line. This is where y'all at now. So, then Indian title, claim of Indian tribes of rights. Claim of Indian tribes of right because of immemorial occupancy to roam certain territory to the exclusion of any other Indians. All right? Again, tribe. You're not a fucking tribes. Okay, we're not tributaries. So also stay away from the word indigenous. All right, indigenous. They try to get you the indigenous rights. Now you can use it if you funnel that word to a better term. If you funnel that term to a better term, saying, oh, so like if you're claiming the newly they have, what is the International Indigenous Rights Act? They just did not too long ago. So that's what
you're talking about, the rights of indigenous peoples.
Yeah, the rights of indigenous peoples. So that just happened not too long ago. So they're trying to get a lot of people to claim that term. Now you can claim that term if you funnel it back into Aboriginal inhabitant. Okay, indigenous and Aboriginal inhabitant are actually two different things, which is why they said Aboriginal and not indigenous in the law. Aboriginal, ab means father. Okay, father original. Whereas indigenous, this is what indigenous means. Comes from indigena, okay, in English law. A subject born, one born within the realm or naturalized by act of parliament.
Damn.
All right? Stay your ass away from that word indigenous, unless you're funneling it to Aboriginal. Okay? So this is the treaty with the Delawares. This is the very first treaty ever made with the colonists and the Native Americans. All right, so let's read this a little bit. Article 1 states that all offenses or acts of hostilities by one, excuse me. Well, let's read this up here because I want to show you. So articles of agreement and confederation made and entered into by Andrew and Thomas Lewis, Esquires, which your Esquires were sort of your kind of a lawyer, commissioners for and in behalf of the United States of North America. Do you see the different terms they had before they became a corporation? It's the United States of North America, of the one part, and Captain White Eyes. White Eyes was the Delaware Native American. Captain John Kilbuck, another one, and Captain John Kilbuck Jr. and Captain Pipe. Okay, these are all Native Americans that are also within the Delaware. They also served within the Delaware together. They served with the Delaware militias. So Article 1, that all offenses or acts of hostilities by one or either of the contracting parties against the other be mutually forgiven and buried in the depth of oblivion, never more to be had in remembrance. Now, see this? Contracting parties. I want you to get you guys' mind on contracting. Everything is a contract. It needs your agreement to be enforced, all right? Article 2. Sorry, y'all. It's like 95 degrees out in LA right now. All right.
Good for you, man.
Yeah, it's like 60 here, like almost 55.
Yeah, great. I ain't need to hear that. Shit.
Yeah, no.
95. Thank you, Will. Appreciate that, brother. All right.
Oh.
So, Article 2, that a perpetual peace and friendship shall from henceforth take place and subsist between the contracting parties aforesaid, okay, contracting parties, through all succeeding generations. And if either of the parties are engaged in a just and necessary war with any other nation or nations, that then each shall assist the other in due proportion to their abilities, till their enemies are brought to resemble terms of accommodation, and that if either of them shall discover any hostile designs forming against the other, they shall give the earliest notice thereof, that timest measures may be taken to prevent their ill effect. In Article 3, I didn't get the whole thing because I just wanted to go over some stuff and show you guys. So in the next treaty that I'll show you, you're really going to see the wording. But here, so Article 3, and whereas the United States are engaged in a just and necessary war in defiance and support of life, liberty, and independence against the King of England and his adherents, and against the King of England and his adherents, and as said king is yet possessed of several posts and forts on the lakes and other places, the reduction of which is of great importance to the peace and security of the contracting parties, and as the most practicable way for the troops of the United States to some of the posts and forts is by passing through the country of the Delaware nation. Okay, you guys understand? When you were a nation, you were a country. Okay, they weren't tribes. They're distinct. We just seen two distinct classifications of the Indians: nation with a country, and tribe with a reservation. And you saw the two differences. And then you saw when they showed without the Indian without tribe, how it was the Aboriginal inhabitants of North America. Okay. So again, passing through the country of the Delaware nation, the aforesaid deputies on behalf of themselves and their nation do hereby stipulate and agree to give a free passage through their country to the troops aforesaid, and the same to conduct by the nearest and best ways to the posts, forts, or towns of the enemies of the United States, affording to said troops such supplies of corn, meat, horses, or whatever may be in their power for the accommodation of such troops. On the commanding officers, I don't know what that is, and paying or engaging to pay the full value of whatever they can supply them with. And the said deputies on the behalf of their nation engaged to join the troops of the United States aforesaid with such a number of their best and most expert warriors as they can spare, consistent with their own safety, and act in correct with them, and for the better security of the old men, women, and children of the aforesaid nation. Whilst their warriors are engaged against the common enemy, it is agreed on the parts of the United States. So I forgot, I didn't get the rest of it, but you can see how these two are fighting together. See, this is what I was trying to say. Now, when you're going back, and this is all before the Constitution. And if you go, you guys get that book, Exemplar of Liberty, which shows the connection of the Aboriginal inhabitants, the Aboriginal Americans, and the colonists, how the colonists studied under the Aboriginals for 20 years before they even wrote the Constitution. And so within there, it wrote the Albany Plan, how they came together, the colonists and the Aboriginal Americans came together to write the Albany Plan, which was like a precursor to the Constitution and all the different documents, all the different writings after that. So you guys have to understand that these Aboriginals.
Deep too.
Huh?
That was deep. How they made it.
Oh yeah. So yeah, you guys really need to get that. If not, we went over that in a past class. So when I post that class, you'll be able to see it. So
look up Hendrix.
That is one book that you guys will definitely have to get if you're truly gonna understand your connection to the landmass. And let me stop right here. I need to say this. You guys are not doing this to get out of documents, to get yourself out of a situation that you're in now. That's not what this is for. If you try and do that, and you're going to mess up a lot of stuff for some other people, especially if you don't know your paperwork. You're just trying to get paperwork and send it in so that you can sever your contracts. That's not going to work. That's not why I'm holding this class for people. And I said that as a disclaimer when I first started. So if you guys are new people and coming in here, this class is so that you can learn how to speak your sovereignty. You will understand how to write your paperwork, but your paperwork is ancillary, okay? It doesn't represent you, or it represents what you know internally, I should say, okay? It's not speaking for you, or it is speaking for you, but it's only speaking for what you already know. Whereas most people, it's a surrogate for what most people don't know. So you're not going to use the paperwork that way. So I just want to stress that you're not going to use this paperwork unless you're fully able to speak it without having the paperwork, because they'll take your paperwork and rip it up, and then you'll have nothing else after that. So I just needed to say that one more time.
Say it one more time, Kev. No, I'm just playing.
Yeah, hey.
That was good.
Yeah, all right, then.
We get played.
We got some comedians up in here, huh? All right. So, indigenous. You guys don't want to say, you want to stay away from that unless you're funneling it. Remember, indigena, indigena, a subject born, one born within the realm, or naturalized by an act of parliament. Okay, that's not you. You're not indigenous. You're Aboriginal. All right, so that's the Delaware Treaty. So this is a treaty with the 6 nations. All right. So they were the 5 nations at first, and they added a nation in there after that. All right. So, Article 1. Oops. So the United States of America give peace to the Senecas, Mohawks, Onondagas, Cayugas, and receive them into their protection. See this? You see this shit right here? And receive them into their protection upon the following conditions. Now, this was a subjugating of them, which I'm sure they didn't understand. 1. Now, Article 1, 6 hostages shall be immediately delivered to the commissioners by the said nations to remain in possession of the United States till all the prisoners, white and black, which were taken by the said Senecas, Mohawks, Onondagas, and Cayugas, or by any of them in the later war, or by any of them in the late war, from among the people of the United States shall be delivered up. Okay? Prisoners, white and black. Article 2, the Oneida and Tuscarora nations shall be secured in the possession of the lands on which they are settled. Okay. Article 3, a line shall be drawn beginning at the mouth of a creek about 4 miles east of Niagara, called Oyanwea, or Johnston's Landing Place, upon the lake named by the Indians Oswego, and by and by us Ontario. From thence southerly in a direction always 4 miles east of the carrying path between Lake Erie and Ontario, to the mouth of the Tesororan of Buffalo Creek on Lake Erie, thence south to the north boundary of the state of Pennsylvania, thence west to the end of the said north boundary, then south along the west boundary to the said state to the river Ohio, and then said line from the mouth of the Onionwea to the Ohio. Ohio shall be the western boundary of the lands of the 6 nations, so that the 6 nations shall and do yield to the United States all claims to the country west of the said boundary, and then they shall be secured in the peaceful possession of the lands they inhabit east and north of the same, reserving only 6 miles square round to the fort of Oswego to the United States for support of the same. So the reason we're reading all this is because legalese locks you up, okay? All these different terminologies, protection, under the protection of, okay? That's a certain terminology that's bringing the Native Americans or the Aboriginal Americans under subjugation of the United States. And then Article 4, the commissioners of the United States in consideration of the present circumstances of the 6 nations and in execution of the humane and liberal views of the United States upon the signing of the above articles, will order goods to be delivered to the 6 nations for their use and comfort. So this treaty was bringing the 6 nations under a subjugation, so to speak, or beginning to bring them under a subjugation of the United States. It was the first part of it. There were a few more treaties after that that helped to do that as well along the way.
Sound like an episode on Oz, bro. Fresh in prison.
Okay. So this was the treaty with the 6 nations in 84. This was one in 89, 1789. All right, my mouth is dry. Can somebody take this up? David, you want to take that up?
Where am I starting? The preamble?
Right here.
Start right there?
Yep.
Okay, and Commissioner Plenipotentiary of the United States.
No, articles of treaty.
Oh, all right, I saw your cursor up there. My fault. All right. Whereas the United States in Congress assembled did, by their commissioners, Oliver Wolcott, Richard Butler, and Arthur Lee.
Go back up for a minute. Go back to articles of a treaty made at Fort Hamar.
All right. Articles of a treaty made at Fort Hamar, the 9th day of January, in the year of our Lord, 1789, between Arthur St. Clair, Esquire, Governor of the Territory of the United States of America, northwest of the River Ohio, and Commissioner Plenipotentiary of the said United States, two separate entities, for removing all causes of controversy, regulating trade, and settling boundaries between the Indian nations in the Northern Department and the said United States of the one part, and the Sachems and warriors of the Six Nations of the other part.
Sachems.
Sachems.
I thought it was sachems.
Nah, Sachems. Sachems. So keep reading.
Okay. Wait, can you guys hear me?
Yeah, keep going.
I feel like I'm going in and out. All right. Article 1. Whereas the United States in Congress assembled did, by their commissioners, Oliver Wolcott, Richard Butler, and Arthur Lee, Esquires, duly appointed for that purpose, at a treaty held with the said Six Nations, with the Mohawks, Oneidas,
Oneidas.
Huh?
Oneidas.
Oneidas and Onondagas.
Onondagas, Tuscaroras, Cayugas, and Senecas at Fort Stanwix on the 22nd day of October, 1784, give peace to the said nations and receive them into their friendship and protection. And,
What? And do what? And receive them into what?
and where and receive their protection.
And receive them into their friendship and protection.
And protection.
God damn.
How many damn treaties they had with them that said the same damn thing
Man,
over and over?
there's so many treaties. Go keep going.
Probably sounded good at the time.
All right, let's see.
Keep going.
And whereas the said nations have now agreed to and with the said Arthur St. Clair to renew and confirm all the engagements and stipulations entered into at the before-mentioned treaty at Fort Stanwix. So they want to make sure they remember. Yeah, you remember you did this before. And whereas it was then and there agreed between the United States of America and the said Six Nations that a boundary line should be fixed between the lands of the said Six Nations and the territory of the said United States, which boundary line is as follows, beginning at the mouth of a creek about 4 miles east of Niagara, called Onondaga, or Johnston's Landing Place, upon the lake named by the Indians Oswego and by us Ontario, from thence southerly in a direction always 4 miles east of the carrying place, between Lake Erie and Lake Ontario, to the mouth.
You don't need to read all the boundaries.
Okay, that's what I'm about to say.
Just go down to where it says the said line. So after the word Ohio, after the river Ohio, where it says
the said line from the mouth of Onondaga to the Ohio shall be the western boundary of the lands of the Six Nations. The western boundary, okay. So that the Six Nations shall and do yield to the United States.
Go back.
No.
The said line from the mouth of the Onondaga to Ohio shall be the western boundary of the lands of the Six Nations, pushing them, so that the Six Nations shall and do yield to the United States all claim to the country west of the said boundary, and then they shall be secured in. Continue?
Yeah.
Okay. And then they shall be secured in the possession of the lands they inhabit. It's not even that no more.
Only when they give us our shit, then they'll be secure in their shit. Keep going.
Also, this is not even a treaty. It's like you do what you do first, and then I'll go after.
It's a treaty if you agree to it.
Oh my God! Otherwise, it's just gonna be war still. Okay, it's a contract. It's a goddamn contract.
Contract. That's exactly what it is. In the last one, they said contracting parties in the last one,
and they made reference to it too. Oh man, engagements and stipulations, exactly. Continue or
so? Yeah, keep going. Yeah, keep going. Actually,
reserving only 6 miles square. Okay. Around it's such a small piece of compared to.
That's where they relegated them to.
Damn.
Again, what does reservation mean? Reserve means to hold back. We are pushing you back. Reservation, dude, it's the same thing as recede and to rescind. It says to be pulled back. Okay, all these words are the same thing. Recede, rescind, reservation, all the same thing. So it's drawing them back. Okay, you guys were once roaming this whole shit, and you were custodians of all of this land. Not anymore, buddy. We got some plans. So you're gonna come under our protection, and that's how we're doing it. So, and then since none of them.
Reserving only 6 miles around the fort of Oswego for the support of the same. The said 6 nations, except the Mohawks, none of whom have attended at this time, look at those brothers, for and in consideration of the peace then granted to them. Their presents they then received, as well as in consideration of a quantity of goods, to the value of $3,000, now delivered to them by the said Arthur St. Clair, the receipt whereof they do hereby acknowledge, do hereby renew and confirm the said boundary line in the words before mentioned, to the end that it may be and remain as a division line between the lands of the said 6 nations and the territory of the United States forever.
Yeah, forever. Motherfucker said forever.
Forever. Oh my Lord.
You know that shit a long time when they take the 4 off of it.
Okay.
You took that from somebody. Give that shit. Give him credit.
That's from Bernie Mac.
All right, then you better give him credit.
He's motherfucking dead. I mean, okay.
Exactly. Still give him his credit.
All right. So and I'll take it. And the undersigned Indians, as well as their own names, as in the name of their respective tribes and nations. What's the difference? Tribes and nations. Boom, boom. They have both here, meaning there are 2 separate and distinct things, tribes and nations. Their heirs and descendants for their considerations before mentioned do release, quit claim. So what these motherfuckers did is basically got the ancestors or got the descendants in this to release their claim from their ancestors, which they can't do. You can't lock up somebody else's rights before they're born. Like, my rights are my rights. My rights can't be locked up by my parents as long as I come back in and I say so. You're living in a free world. You live in a free society, but you need to express that in order for those rights to have any effect or process. So this is where your acquiescence come in.
Isn't that what the United States has been doing with taxes in general? Or the whole debt situation. They're obligating everybody's grandkids, and they didn't agree to have taxes raised on them.
No, they're not obligating everybody's grandkids. Your parents did that when they signed that. We just went over delivery. So again, you're in maritime admiralty law, okay, which takes you off of the land. So again, we're gonna get into to our constitution even more. We're gonna do that more tomorrow, but I'm just showing you guys a lot of the documents that you'll be writing today. It's going to have the force of the Constitution. But when they took you, the Constitution is the law of the land. It says it right in there. This Constitution and treaties they're made, treaties made before and after shall be the law of the land. Blah blah blah. Okay, law of the land. That's specific. You're on land. Okay, then there's a law of the water. So what they had to do, again, your status, meaning one's standing in society, in a legal society. So they had to bring you off of the land and put you on water. You can't stand on water. Okay, to be a motherfucker who's able to stand on water, you either Jesus or you a hell of a surfer. And so to be a surfer, you need to know the waves. You need to know how the water moves, where the waves break. You know what I'm saying? That's a whole different game. You need to know the water to be able to survive on the water. Okay? It's not just land. Your ass can just fall down and you lay your ass down on some land. You're still good. But water, you can make a false move in some water, your ass is drowning. So this is how they created the system. So again, you being a vessel flowing down your mother's birth canal, same thing as the flowing. You're flowing down the water, your mother's water canal, birth canal, to be delivered to the dock. The doctor or the dock, which is how a parcel when a ship pulls into port, he docks his ship, and he has to register his cargo on the ship, which is with a certificate of registry. Okay, you guys have your Black's Law Dictionary. Look up certificate of registry. That's what actually a birth certificate is. Okay, so they register the cargo, and then deliver you, as we just saw, in that term delivery. They act by handing over the res or the thing to another party. So these are all the things that they're doing to you. So you have to understand and get your ass back on land in order to secure your rights. You can, if you're if you're a Tai Chi master with this law shit, you can still work this stuff admiralty in an admiralty way. So we went over law of the flag, okay, which is under an admiralty law. When you're on water, when two ships meet, and they come up and we're meeting, we're going to do commerce. If I'm flying my flag, if I'm flying the flag of my country, and you are not, then that means the stipulations of our agreement or our contract will fall under the law of my flag, the flag that's being flown, because I'm the one that's expressing that I want the transactions to go under my law. You, by not having a flag, is called acquiescence or tacit consent. Look, and does anybody have their Black's Law? Look up tacit for me. TACIT. Okay, tacit consent. So now, if two ships meet up and both are flying flags, then that states that now we're on an equal ground. It's called equity. Okay, that's equity jurisdiction. Now, and you guys need to look that up as well. That means we're both on equal ground. Okay, there's no one above each other. We're both contracting on equal party. You say this, I say, no, I don't want that. I come back at you with this. You say, no, I don't want that. And we're both in neck and neck in agreement until both of us agree to the same stipulations and we're at an even place. Okay, that's what equity, that's what the law of equity is. Or when we come together and we meet on the same terms where no one's higher than the other, then we're on the law of equity.
What did you want, just tacit by itself or tacit plus another word with it?
No, just tacit. What does tacit mean?
Yeah,
okay.
I just see tacit by itself, like you said.
Read tacit.
If you want to read it, you can go ahead.
Okay, tacit, existing, inferred, or understood without being openly expressed or stated, implied by silence or silent acquiescence, understood, implied as a tacit agreement.
Bam. Go back a couple of words. Read that one more time for me.
Okay, existing, inferred, or understood without being openly expressed or stated.
Bam. Let's stop right there. Understood without being openly expressed or stated. So, what that means is, I'll give it to you in this term. If I come to you and I pimp slap you and you don't, then I take that as your tacit consent that I can do that again. Oh, like that? Oh, here, take another. I'm just gonna keep pimp slapping your ass until you put an arm up and block, or until you slap the shit out of me back, or do something worse. But okay, I'm taking that as your tacit consent that you agree by your acquiescence, by your you're not saying anything, that you like pimp slaps.
So that's like this whole mortgage situation of companies saying, you're the borrower and I'm going to take your property without you saying, hey, you're just a debt collector. You're not the creditor. So you have no rights no interest in my property.
Actually, though, that's not what's happening. In your contracting, if you understood contracts, they're making you the offerer in the contract. See, we went over this before. When you go back and look up other classes, we went over contracting, and so you need to get the book Corbin's on Contracts. Okay, if anybody of you guys are new to this class, get Corbin on Contracts. It's the first edition.
It's very good, easy to understand.
And it's everything you need to understand within contract. So one of the first parts in there is called the power of acceptance. Okay, so the person who accepts the contract has the power in the contract. Why is that? Because if I come to you and I ask you, if I offer you something, that means you have something that I want. Okay, if I'm the offerer and you're the offeree, then that gives you all the power to accept my offer. And if I come and I say, hey, look, I'll give you, I'll give you, 5 cows and, 3 chickens and, a couple of hens, blah, 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 and then I want from you, what I need from you, give me a couple of parcels of, give me the use of your land for about 3 days. You'll say, for water purposes or something like that. You'll say, nah, you're going to give me 10 cows. You're going to give me 10 chickens. See, that's the power of the acceptor being able to make the contract. I come to you and I just say, oh, I'll give you this. And you're like, no, buddy, because you want something that you want to use my water on my land. That's more important to you than your chickens are to me. So I have the power to make that contract. Okay. So within your bank documents, when you're getting a mortgage loan or whatever they're making you they're making you the offerer in that contract, and they become the offeree. They're accepting your offer, so then they're able to make the contract.
Wait, so you talking about a home equity loan?
Talking about when you get a house loan, when you go over get a mortgage, and that mortgage contract,
so that's the shit I'm in right now.
They're making you the offerer. You're coming in them and saying, hey, I'll pay you for whoop-de whoop whoop. And then they're the ones in there saying, okay, great.
That's ignorant.
Wait, well, we'll do it like this. This is what I need in order for you to use me. So real quick, these some definitions that you guys, the word jus, okay, means a right. So you guys, this is a term that you need to get into your lexicon as well. So jus, right, justice, law, the whole body of law, also a right. The term is used in 2 meanings. Jus means law, okay, considered in the abstract, that is, as distinguished from any specific enactment, the science or department of learning, or quasi-personified factor in human history, or conduct, or social development, which we call, in a general sense, the law. Or it means the law taken as a system, an aggregate, a whole. The sum total of a number of individual laws taken together. Or it may designate one particular system or body of particular laws, as in the phrases jus civile, jus gentium, and jus praetorium. In a second sense, jus signifies a right, that is, a power, privilege, faculty, or demand inherent in one person and incident upon another, or a capacity residing in one person of controlling, with the assent and assistance of the state, the actions of another. Okay? Or a capacity residing in one person of controlling, with the assent and assistance of the state, the actions of another. Did y'all get what that meant? The capacity residing in another. meaning the power in one person of controlling with the assent or assistance, meaning with the agreement or the assistance of the state, controlling the actions of somebody else. That's what that meant. Okay. This is the meaning in the exceptions of jus in rem, jus crescendi, and jus possessionis. It is thus seen to possess the same ambiguity as the word droit, rect, and right. So just means right. So you'll see this in a lot of different terms or Latin terms that you're going to use within your documents. So right from here, and these, a couple of these are in the questionnaire definitions. So some of these you may use in documents that you write on your own. So the 4 documents that I've written, if you guys want to write your own documents, and you may want to use some of these, I used a couple of these terms in documents I wrote. So jus disser et non jus der, to declare the law, not to make it. Okay. You'll see why. I'm just giving you an overview right now of these certain terms. So jus duplicatum, a double right. This is like droit. The right of possession united with the right of property, otherwise called droit. There it is right there. Then, let's see. So jus ex injuria non orator. A right does not or cannot rise out of a wrong. Okay, a right does not or cannot rise out of a wrong. Jus gentium. This is one of the words you'll use. This is one of the words you'll use. Where is it? So jus gentium, the law of nations. Okay, this is one of the things that's going to give power to your documents. You are in the law of nations. You're in the United States of America within the law of nations. So the law of nations, that law which natural reason has established among all men, is equally observed among all nations, and is called the law of nations, as being the law which all nations use.
How is the law of nations different than natural law?
Well, the law of nations is actually written. Natural law is usually just the law of harmonious, the law of harmony. Natural law meaning
Like from God, almost.
Yeah, law from God, or what's called the law non scripta. So these lex non scripta. Excuse me, that's the Latin term for it. The unwritten law. That would be the natural law. Law of God. I have the law of life, liberty, pursuit of happiness, that type of stuff. That's natural law, or lex non scripta. The law of nations is actually written out. You can go look it up right now. You can Google it and probably pull it up right now. I have a book. I have the actual books. When I got it, somebody gave it to me. Somebody actually had it on disc, and I just made 3 big ass books out of it. But like I said, that was 15 years ago. You guys can probably Google it and get it all in one shot. Damn lucky ass mother.
It's all right. You can stay
non-scripta.
Lex non-scripta.
Say it again.
Lex.
Okay, lex non-scripta is the supreme law, right? It's above everything then.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Well, it's not necessarily above everything, because you live in a physical society, so you need to be able to identify the law of what you're trying to say. Okay, so your expression of your rights is the utmost thing. So lex non scripta just is a basic philosophy. You can't really use that going within court. So that just means I have the God-given right to freedom, pursuit of happiness. These are things you want to say that. Yes, you want that to be known. This is your motivation. is the unwritten law or natural law, which is the law of freedom. You have the, all spirits ultimately want to be free. So,
I'm glad you said that, because I was thinking that in some cases it might be better to claim that we're under natural, like to basically say I'm not a heathen. I'm under natural law, which would, I guess, imply that I shouldn't be treated like I need to be regulated. Because if you're not under law, you're lawless.
Well, this is where the law of nations come in. See, you're joining the world. Is when you're claiming under the law of nations. The law of nations is pretty much it's based off the natural law. Don't do to me what I don't want done to you. So I won't do to you what I don't want done to me. Back and forth. I suggest you guys look it up. It's real ill. It's pretty big too.
Okay.
4 books in the Law of Nations. The last book is the smallest, but the first 3 are huge. And you guys should just look that up. So, oh, wait a minute. I missed something. So, Jus Habendi. Okay. Jus Habendi. This is also within the documents that I wrote. The right to have a thing. The right to be put in actual possession of property. Okay. So this is what you're reclaiming. This is you're reclaiming your rights to the land. I have the right to this thing. You know what I'm saying? The right to be put into possession of my property. Now, not that you're gonna go back to the government and actually have them claim or give you back any damn thing. That's not gonna work. As we stated before, you are you're moving in a new path. You're not gonna try and ride what the old Moors or old Aboriginals did. That was left there for them in their time, but it's left for us to be able to go back and look at and build upon that. We were Moors because we always did more. That word M-O-R-E is the French word for Moors. Okay, if you go look up the history of Moor or the etymology of Moor, you'll see France in the French. It's M-O-R-E. So we always built more. So in this day and age, we're supposed to take the law of how and apply it to how it's the environment of today. See, this is what we're not a static people. You know what I'm saying? We're adaptable. You know what I'm saying? It's the old Bruce Lee. Be water, my friend. When the water's in the teapot, it becomes a teapot. When the water's in the cup, it becomes the cup. You know what I'm saying? The water can either flow or it can crash. Be water, my friend. All right? That's Bruce Lee. So the same thing is with us. For us to try and hold on to some shit that we did back in the past makes us rigid. Okay? It limits us. Okay? Don't be limited. So when we're coming back, we're stating, yeah, we understand we have a claim to this land. This is our land. Our ancestors held this land. You fucked them. We get that. So what we're stating is we're coming back in our right capacity. Okay, we're coming back what's called or in our proper person. Look up
impropria persona.
Impropria persona. So you're going to write these on your documents. Impropria persona. Impropria. I-N-P-O-R P-R-I-A. Impropria persona. Persona, P-E-R-S-O-N-A. Impropria persona. That means in my proper person. I'm coming back in my proper person. And that's how you're going to reclaim everything. Now, what you're not going to do is you're not going to come back and say, oh, well, give me all my shit back. That's not going to happen. Okay. If you can do that, if your ass is drone proof. If you drone proof, then you go back and say, yeah, give me all my shit back. Other than that, you kind of got to work some Tai Chi. Okay. You kind of let's reacquire the land. The way that things are today. Let's get the land. Let's buy our land. Let's rope it off. Then you can apply the law, that ancient law that's been around. You can apply that law to that land that you newly acquired. But to try and go and get your old land back is stupid. That's not going to happen.
It took a while to lose it. It's going to take a while to get back.
There you go. And the way they got it, you know what I'm saying? And it's pretty much how land has gotten all over the place. You don't loot, motherfuckers just don't come and take land. That's an old term. Like even when the Moors were defeated in Spain, they didn't come and snatch the land. That's a myth. It's all well on January 2nd or January 1st, 1492, Granada was given, the Moors gave up Granada. It was finally taken. It was over a period of hundreds of years that the Moors slowly gave it up, and it was because the assassins, for a better term, the Syrians. You had a sect of Muslims called the Assassins. They were some hardcore motherfuckers. They were hardcore Orthodox Muslims. So they were out of Damascus and Syria. And when they came down, when they went to Spain, they came on some hardcore Muslim shit. They were like, yo, we're doing salat 5 times a day. If your ass ain't doing salat, if you kicking it with Jews or Christians, if you doing any of that shit, we coming to smash you. So when they came in there, when the assassins came through and they rolled through there, they rolled through the city, and they saw the Moors chilling with Christians and Jews all over the place and kicking it and not doing it. They was like, nigga, are you crazy? You kicking it with this Jew and this? Hey, nigga. So they rolled up and they just rolled through the town and start smashing. Like literally just start smashing everybody. If your ass was a Muslim, you got dealt with. You got what's called out here in gang world, you got discipline. That's what an OG calls it when he's dealing with a young gangster. He's getting disciplined. That's what the Syrians did to all those Moors who were living on some new I'm kicking it with everybody stuff. So they rolled through there, were smashing people. So what they had to do was they had to go to what was deemed as their enemies, or they went to a lot of the Jews and the Christians who had land at that time, and they had serfs on that land. And they said, look, man, these are the Jews and the Christians. They said, look, man, those assassins are kicking your ass, huh? Like, yeah, they came through here and they just start smashing you. They said, look, we can loan you some of our men to help fight against the assassins or the Syrians. We can do that, but y'all got to give up some land. We'll give up some people to help in your fight, but y'all got to give us some property. And over an amount of time, that's what happened. You know, they would give up. That was one of the reasons they would give up land. They would give up land for all different types of reasons and agreements and contracts. But that's how they acquired the land over in Spain, and eventually, that's how the Moors got kicked out. Is they just were in different agreements, and then the Syrian when the assassins or the Assyrians came through and started smashing people, that was kind of like the straw that broke the camel's back. All right, so that's Jus Abendi. So, jus in personam, a right against a person, a right which gives its possessor a power to oblige another person to give or procure, to do or not to do something. Okay? Again, a right against a person, a right which gives its possessor a power to oblige another person to give or procure, to do or not to do something. To oblige another person. What does that mean? Obligate.
Contract.
To obligate another person to give or procure, to do or not to do something.
Sound like a unilateral contract.
Pretty much. That's pretty much what it is. One-sided contract. And jus in re, a right in a thing. Okay, a right existing in a person with respect to an article or subject of property, inherent in its relation to it, implying complete ownership with possession, and available against all the world. Okay, I own this against all of you. All y'all can kick rocks. All right. So jus non habenti, tut non Peratur, one who has no right cannot be safely obeyed. Why is that important? Does anyone know why that's important? This is an interactive class, fellas and lady. So why is that why is that important? One who has no right.
You don't listen to anyone who doesn't have rights.
Like bandits or highwaymen or thieves and things like that might come together with negative intent.
And it seems like they know that, so that's why, since they know they can't be safely evaded, they use a force.
But why is that important in your documents? Or why is that important to you as a person coming back and reclaiming his aboriginal right?
Because if they have no right, if they have no jurisdiction, they can't tell you to do anything.
Bam. Well said. They are the de facto jurisdiction. Okay, we looked up de facto. If you guys have your Black's Law Dictionary, look up government de facto and government de jure. Government de facto is government in fact without the actual right to be a government. That means you're actually the government. You're there. You're in place. You're doing the shit, but you don't have a right to be doing that. You don't have an actual right. Government de jure is the government of right, meaning it's the proper government that's supposed to be in place, but just is not. So this goes to the fact that if there's a de facto government in place and you're reclaiming your proper person, as we saw in propria persona, your actual status, if you're reclaiming that, then one who has no right cannot be safely obeyed. Meaning, I don't have to obey your policies because you're not the actual government. Okay, you don't have laws, you have policies, and I don't have to obey your policies because you're not the actual government of right. And policies aren't law anyway, unless I've contracted to obey by them or to obey them. And jus post limine in international law. This is important as well. The right by which property taken by an enemy and recaptured or rescued from him by the fellow subjects or allies of the original owner is restored to the latter upon certain terms. Okay, again, this is jus post limine. And this is an international law, the right by which property taken by an enemy and recaptured or rescued from him by the fellow subjects or allies of the original power is restored to the latter upon certain terms. Okay? So that means any property or lands that's been taken from me and I recaptured is restored to me. Okay? In civil law, the right of post limine, the right or claim of a person who has been restored to the possession of a thing or to a former condition to be considered as though he had never been deprived of it. See that? Let's read that one more time. The right of post limine, the right or claim of a person who had been restored to the possession of a thing or to a former condition to be considered as though he had never been deprived of it. So if I get my land, if I reclaim my status, I sever all my contracts, I reclaim my status, I constructively notice the involved corporation. I've let them know that I'm not playing your game anymore, or I'm reestablishing myself in the game in a different position. And now now that I've reacquired my land, I'm taking it back, I'm restoring my land to my proper rights. It's called jus post limine. So if you take it, you recreate your nation, or you can create your own nation. as we've talked about before, you can create your own sovereign country, just as the Vatican. The Vatican is chilling right there in Rome, chilling right in the middle, right in the little landmass of Rome, and it only has 451 citizens. That's a whole sovereign country with less people than in a high school class. Like 12, there's more people in a 12th grade class in a high school than there are people in the Vatican or citizens of the Vatican. So this is also important. This goes with jus post limine. Jus recuperandi, the right of recovering lands. Okay, the right of recovering land. Jus sanguinis, the right of blood. Okay, that also goes back to consanguinity. See, sanguine means blood. Okay, like sanguinarium and sanguine. All these different terms means blood, consanguinity. Res, we just read that. So let's go back down. Let's go to the bottom part of res, though. We didn't read the whole thing. So, res, things. Res have been variously divided and classified in law. Ergo, in the following ways: 1, corporeal, incorporeal; 2, movables and immovables; 3, res mancipi, and res nesmancipi; 4, things real and things personal; 5, things in possession and chooses, i.e. things in action; 6, fungible things and things not fungible; and 7, res singulae, i.e. individual objects, like singulo, res singulo, i.e. individual objects; and universitas rerum, i.e. aggregates of things. Also, persons are for some purposes and in certain respects regarded as things. Y'all see that? Also, persons are for some purposes and in some respects regarded as things. Okay, you are freeing your res as we went back. So this is also when you're writing your documents. And we're going to go over your court procedure of documents. When you're sending your documents into court, there's a certain way the documents should be written, or they won't be recognized within the court, or they don't. Even if they are recognized, the court doesn't have a legal obligation to recognize documents that aren't written procedurally correct. So sui juris, when you're writing in your sui juris, when you're writing your law or your law case, you're going to be going into court, impropria persona sui juris. Okay, that means of his own right. Okay, not per se. You got people coming in there and they're per se. Okay, and you're not representing yourself. You're coming in there impropria persona, in your proper person, of your own right. Okay, that's Latin, of his own right, possessing full social and civil rights, not under any legal disability or the power of another or guardianship, having capacity to manage one's own affairs, not under legal disability to act for oneself. That is some powerful shit. Every damn word right there was super powerful. You want to be sui juris. Okay?
So the exact opposite of a minor or infant.
Exactly. The exact opposite of a minor or infant. okay, of his own right, possessing full social and civil rights, not under any legal disability. That is super important. You are not under any legal disability, okay? Or the power of another, or guardianship, meaning you're not under the guardianship of the United States. Go back to that, parens patriae. Okay, that's one of the terms that's in our questionnaire. Okay. If anybody can get to parens patriae quicker than me. Please read it. If not, go quicker on the draw. All right, got it. So parens patriae. Okay, so this goes back to or guardianship. You're not under the guardianship. So parens patriae, father of his country, parent of the country. In England, the king. In the United States, the state as a sovereign, referring to the sovereign power or guardian, referring to the sovereign power of guardianship over persons under disability. And we just, see the whole thing we just read? Again, in the United States, the state as a sovereign, referring to the sovereign power of guardianship over persons under disability, okay? Such as minors and insane and incompetent persons, okay? So when you're under that stipulation or under that status, the government is your parent. It's your guardian. It's your ward. You're under wardship of the state or the federal state. So when you're going into court, you're sui juris. You're wiping all that shit away. I'm of my own right, possessing full civil rights, social and civil rights, not under any legal disability or the power of another, no guardianship. This is me. I'm walking right here. Bam. All right. So commit that to your brain right there. You should memorize that. So that, let's see. I want to go. Okay. So we'll go over that later. So now we're getting to it. Okay, so the legal document. So we're going to go over the first page of the legal document before, because we did that in the second class. Actually, maybe the first class. I'm sure a lot of you forgotten that. So we did this one. This is the affidavit, your non-subject status. So we're going to go over the first one, though, the most important one, which would be this. Not that one. That's actually one of them, too. Would be this one. This is the affidavit of truth and status. Okay? Most of you are not going to understand any of this shit in here right now. However, going back over these classes, you will understand these. You will understand what's in this document. Okay, all these classes have been to get your minds ready to write your own documents, or if you guys, and you should try and write your own documents. But I understand that a legal mind is not everyone doesn't have that. So if you guys want to purchase these from me, then you can, or I can help you write your own, and we can do stuff like that. But you guys want to have an understanding, even if you don't write your own documents, you have to be able to read the document and explain it to someone. Okay, you have to be able to explain this document to someone. So it's going back over here. Kevin Latrell Barringer, also known as Noble Kevin L. Barringer, being an autochthon qualified free inhabitant, and de jure, as we just saw, of right, common law, natural born citizen. This is where they can find that law of the unincorporated California Republic and the unincorporated United States of America, nonpartisan, Republican form of government in the family of nations. Okay, that's the very big part. You're in the family of nations. And this is where we went over Cruikshank versus United States, this law case. We went over that a few classes ago. It basically states there's two different jurisdictions of citizens. There's a federal citizen and a state citizen, okay? Your states were the sovereign power that you claim citizenship under before they started giving you all kind of federal privileges and sucking you into the federal jurisdiction. So in the name of hoc, we went over that. Somebody real quick, what is hoc?
All right. Truth.
Truth.
So in the name of truth, do solemnly record, declare, and proclaim sovereign aboriginal indigenous. See how I put aboriginal and indigenous together? So you have to funnel these two words together, okay? Or somewhere within the document, you just can't claim indigenous without claiming aboriginal at the same time, okay? And as well, in my document, you see I have highlight or bold ab. The ab you can find right there in the Black's Law Dictionary. So sovereign aboriginal indigenous status and rights / rights. These are two different rights. These are rights in law. This is rights, secret society rights. This document is written exoterically and it's written esoterically. Okay, what are the difference? What do those two terms mean? Exoterically means outwardly. So it's written for surface law people to understand, but it's also written for the esoteric secret society cats who really hold the door, who really hold the gateway to all this shit in law or in government. So you got a lot of these cats, you know, Masons and what are the other ones? Rosicrucianists, excuse me. Masons, Rosicrucians, all these different secret society cats who understand who you are and are actually holding that knowledge until you come back and reclaim your actual status. But they don't have to tell you anything until you come back in that status. So they're just holding it. And when you come back and you assert that status and let them know that you know who you are, then they'll show you that they know who you are as well. So back to this, I do solemnly record, declare, and proclaim my sovereign aboriginal indigenous status and rights / rights, again, esoteric rights, as consanguinity and posterity, okay? You guys got consanguinity and then blood relation. So you guys look that up. We're going over this real quick because we went over this before. So I'm not going to just rehash the whole thing. You guys go back and look at that. I think we did it on status number 1, class number 1 or 2. We went over this. I'm just getting you guys back into this because we're going to go over the second page of this in a second. So consanguinity / posterity of the 6 nations. Oh, really quick. Where's my Constitution? So, go over this Constitution really quick and the preamble. So I'm just going to read it and why this is important. We the people, actually I don't even need to read it. So we the people, in order to form a more perfect union, establish justice, ensure domestic tranquility, provide for the common defense, promote the general welfare, and hold on, I'm reading. I got this. And secure the blessings of liberty to ourselves and our posterity. That line right there, secure the blessings of liberty. What does that mean? Does anyone know what that means?
It's not.
Now you can jump in, Trey. Is he off? All right, David, anybody? Blessings of posterity. Excuse me, blessings of liberty. Secure the blessings of liberty. We went over liberty already. You guys should know what that means.
We get the blessings, but not the curse of it.
For your descendants. Your
freedom within bounds.
Yes. Freedom given.
Within boundaries.
Given. So the quick reference would be given freedom. Liberty is freedom given. Okay. So go back over it again. Secure the blessings of liberty to ourselves. Okay. Who was the liberty given to them by? So you understand, you're reading the preamble. These are supposed to be the colonists or the sovereign states coming together, and they're saying, they didn't say secure the blessings of freedom. They said secure the blessings of liberty. That's a legal term. So who gave them liberty?
They did. They gave themselves liberty, right?
How can you give yourself liberty?
Because natural law is above man-made law. So if they have law from God, the Constitution isn't what they can do, it's what the government can and can't do.
Okay, but remember, there's certain terminologies you're skipping the term blessing. So what is blessing? When somebody
ecclesiastical term.
But when somebody blesses you with something, what happens? What do you do when you get blessed?
They ordain you. They
speak well of, or to make holy something.
To bless you with something means to be giving you something that benefits you. Okay, that's a blessing is something that benefits you. They're giving something that benefits you. The blessings of liberty. Okay, liberty is given freedom. So when they say secure, again, secure the blessings of liberty. Okay, secure means to lock up. We're locking up the privilege that was given to a blessing is like a privilege, something they give that benefits you. So secure the blessings of liberty means to lock up this privilege that was given to us, or this privilege of given freedom, or liberty, meaning given freedom to be able to roam around. This blessing of, we're securing this blessing of given freedom. Who gave them the blessing? Who gave them the liberty?
Who's them?
The people writing the preamble.
I mean, but the people writing it were writing for another party. So them being the United States of America, or them being the United States?
What I'm saying is, so I'm going to read this really quick. Let me go over this again. You're thinking of it too. You're going too hard. Don't think of it so hard. Again, we the people.
So it's we the people then. That's that gave it to them.
Well, no. Well, let me read it again. I want you guys to listen up. Listen real close. We the people, in order to form a more perfect union, meaning there was a union before that, we're just making it better. We the people, in order to form a more perfect union, establish justice, ensure domestic tranquility, provide for the common defense. That's the main term right there. That gives you, if you understand that term, we went over that term before, common. If you understand that term, it gives you in the next line what's happening. So provide for the common defense. Provide for the common defense, promote the general welfare, and secure the blessings of liberty to ourselves and our posterity. So secure the blessings of liberty. And I'm going to give it to you real quick because we don't want to go over it. Secure, the lock up. Blessings, privilege given to you, or something given to you that benefits you. Liberty, freedom, given freedom. So that freedom, or the blessings of liberty, or given freedom for them to be over here, was given to them by someone. Who was it given to them by?
The people that were already here, the Aboriginals.
There you go. Thank you.
Who were the initial owners of what became the common
There you go. The first people who had the land had to give them permission to be here. They couldn't be here. They couldn't be here without the permission of the people who are already here. So again, it goes back. In order to form a more
the autochthons.
The autochthons, yes, the aboriginals. So in order to form a more perfect union, secure the blessings of liberty to ourselves and our posterity, meaning we were given the privilege to be able to be free and roam in this land. The Native Americans or the aboriginals gave us that right. We're securing it and handing it down to our posterity. Okay? So that goes back to the word common. Common is in law, common is an incorporeal hereditament, meaning something without body, like a blessing, a privilege, a right, or an idea that can be handed down. So again, going back to secure the blessings of liberty to ourselves and our posterity.
Wow. Okay.
Posterity is your descendants. Going back to common, common is an incorporeal hereditament. Incorporeal, without body. Hereditament means something that can be inherited.
I can follow that.
The blessings of liberty can be inherited by their posterity. That means we gave them the privilege to be here. They locked it up and handed it down to their children. Okay? That's what that means. And the reason they did that is because the British, they had to do it. They had to create a new document to be able to lock that up, which is a trust document. We went over that before. The Constitution is a trust document, and it's positive law in English law as well as American law. So what that meant was if England came back and snatched up the colonies and defeated them and brought them back into the monarchy, the monarch rulership, then that meant when they created this Constitution, they locked up their profits. This is all about profit, corporations and profit. So what they did is they locked up their right to be here and produce on this land. They locked it up in English law as well, just in case England came back and smashed and took them back, which they tried to do in the War of 1812. They just lost. But what they say they lost on the surface, but they didn't. They burned down the White House. They did all kind of other shit to kind of subvert and kind of be the underlying power of America up until this day still. So Britain was still, even when they came back in 1812, even though they, on the surface, they didn't win, they did win on the undertip. They're still the underlying power that controls a lot of this shit. And it's not Britain, it's really the Rothschilds. So, so the rights as consanguine posterity of the, oh wait, let me go over this again. So, in the name of Hak, do solemnly record, declare, and proclaim my sovereign aboriginal / indigenous status and rights / as consanguinity / posterity of the Six Nations Confederacy, also known as the Haudenosaunee and founders of the Constitution for the United States of America, also as beneficiary of the trust, and I have here not sold. So remember, Sestuiki trust or use and trust means beneficiary of the land and of the trust. So when I say not sold, that means I'm not the beneficiary by myself. Okay, that's what that means. Not sold is I'm not the sole beneficiary. I'm only one coming and claiming it. Okay, of the living trust, so recorded in the preamble, as we just went over, that's a trust document. So recorded in the preamble, provide for the common defense. I put that in here. To the Constitution for the United States of America, to emancipate my res. We went over res. To emancipate my res, and remember it said res can be, or a thing is not applied to just, or persons can be things. Remember we just read that. So to emancipate my res / sovereign authority in use or trust under parens patriae, we just went over that again, guardianship, under guardianship or parenthood, And so this is actually the law case this case right here, United States versus Chamberlain. This is the law case that shows how the government is your parent when you're in an infant state of mind. So I know you guys don't understand this because it's legalese, and you guys may not understand the legalese connecting together. But in legalese, they'll run one complete thought. If I'm running a complete thought, this is what you see me doing. It's one complete thought being run all the way through. This is how they get you in legalese. You're taught in regular parlance to pause, pause, pause. Okay, so you can have a coherent thought. In legalese, they teach you to keep running with the thought. Okay, so you have to keep constantly understanding how to catch up with it. So this is what I did to them. So all it says is one major thing. The reason it seems like it's so broken up is because after every assertion I make, I put the actual law that backs me up behind it. So it gets lost in that. So again, let's go back over this to so as consanguinity, posterity of the Six Nations and founders of the Constitution for the United States, also as beneficiary, not sole, of the living trust, so recorded in the preamble, provided for the common defense, the preamble to the Constitution for the United States of America to emancipate my res/sovereign authority in use or in trust under parens patriae, droit dominium jus habendi. Okay, so the right of so this is the right of possession, the right to have possession plus the right of possession, and these both means the same thing, jus habendi and droit, but the right of dominion over the land. This is what I'm saying. I have the right of dominion over the land in which I possess. From the foreign jurisdictions known as the Municipal Corporation of the United States of America, also known as the United States of America, Inc., a Delaware corporation, and its corporate state subsidiary, i.e. the state of California and the city of Los Angeles. So these laws in here, I go over this so many times because if you don't show them in their law where they can find what you're saying, they won't listen to you. That's just the bottom line of it. If you don't show them what the hell you're saying, or where they can find what you're saying in their law, they're not listening. So, and so this is any and all past and present contractual ties. This is the severing of contract. Any and all past and contractual ties and obligations, i.e. driver's license, social security card, birth certificate, or / certificate of registry, identification card, voter registration, passport, etc., implied by operation of law, which means statute, or otherwise in trust, with the said corporation, meaning United States of America, Inc., are hereby and have been rescinded / canceled ab initio and made public record on the grounds of, but not limited to, fraud, lack of full disclosure, etc., as can be referenced by, this is the older document I showed you guys, that the first document that I severed my contracts with. That's what this refers to. And by this emancipation, I return to a state of primary sovereignty that pre-exists all corporations and or governments. Okay, you see this statement right here? By this emancipation, I return to a state of primary sovereignty that pre-exist all corporations and or governments. Then here's it. Here it is. Naturale est quid lebe dissolvi eo modo corlegator. A thing is unbound in the same way in which it was bound. Okay, this is what's going to release you right here. And so all this is right here. You guys have to go over the first one. I'm not going to read it again. This is the disclaimer in your document that allows you to have their documents in your pocket, like your driver's license, your passport, social security card, all that. You can have their documents without it obligating you because you only hold it out of duress. Okay, you only have it because you don't want to get your ass beat by some dumbass cop when you get pulled over by, you get pulled over and you say, oh, I'm not a part of your government. Then they go crazy because they have some type of, they're under alert to watch out for people of the sovereign movement. And they're under that too. They have an order to watch out for people claiming sovereignty or the sovereign movement. So that's all this disclaimer does. It allows you to have 1 foot in the government or 1 foot in the corporation, their corporation, and 1 foot out at the same time without being obligated to them. Okay, that's what you want. Most people are out here either in or out. I'm about balance. You gotta walk the middle path. Okay, 1 foot in, 1 foot out. This showed that you can submit your paperwork in the court without having to be in the court. We went over that. I think we went over that actually last week too. All right, so here's the new stuff. Oh, so this is the documents. This is court documents. We're not on that yet. We're going to get on the second page. Wait a minute. Second page of my document. Okay, so this is the second page of that document. The affidavit of truth and status. So, if you notice at the top here, I, Kevin Latrell Behringer, am not a minority nor in a state of infancy. Okay? And this is infancy. And this is the reason you use the Black Law Dictionary, because when it gives you a certain definition, it has the law case under it that dealt with that definition. And so it gives you the premise of that definition, or where they got the idea of that definition from that law case. So this is why you need that. I am not. I can't. Huh?
How do you usually check to see if a case was overturned? Because when I look, I go and I see it's agreed upon at a certain date. But how do you know these things haven't been overturned?
If you go look up the case, it'll say overturned.
Only on case law, right?
Yeah. If you go look up a case, if you go look up a case law right now, they constantly publish it. So if they overturn the case, when you went and looked it up, it would be registered as overturned. It would say that on the case. Okay.
Because everything I see is like back in the 60s they were overturned. So I don't know if anything has been recently overturned, like with the Supreme Court doing the whole Fourth Amendment gutting.
Well, they didn't necessarily overturn the Fourth Amendment. What they did was they just allowed they allowed police officers whatever they found in an illegal search to stand. Now, if they don't find anything, then your Fourth Amendment, your Fourth Amendment constitutional right is still in effect. All right, now turn your phone. Y'all got a party going on in the back.
I have a question too.
Yeah, go ahead.
How do you know what to capitalize?
What do you mean?
So then you have certain words all throughout throughout the documents that you've shown, like minority, legal rights, capacity, property absolutes, full allodial title, and then there's some words that you don't have capitalized.
Because I'm bringing when I'm capitalizing those words, I'm bringing attention to those words. That's all.
Okay.
All right. I just want to bring attention to those words. I'm not writing in code. Well, not when I do that. So I, Kevin Latrell Behringer, am not a minority nor in a state of infancy, and have full lawful / legal rights and capacity to contract. And that's in the article, that's in the Constitution, as well as UCC. To own property absolute with full allodial title, and to establish commerce without said corporate / quasi-governmental encumbrances, or interference as guaranteed by the California Constitution. You'll have to, when you guys make your own documents, you got to put your own in there. As guaranteed by the California Constitution and the Constitution for the United States of America. Also, see Hale versus Hinkle. That's your sovereign rights. This is rights of the sovereign in this law case right here. I also deny any existence of the following legal fictions / corporations. Kevin Luttrell, these are all capitalized. Kevin Luttrell Barringer, Kevin Barringer, Kevin L. Barringer, Kevin Barringer, or Barringer Kevin, and Barringer L. Kevin. Okay, this is my denial of that corporate entity. Okay, so now you cannot come to me and try to make me a subrogation for that legal entity. So that dealt with that. Now,
did you feel the need to cover yourself with like if you were on a roster, last name, comma, first name?
What? Say that one. Say that again.
Like if someone listed you as Barringer, comma, Kevin.
No. I mean, I just put it. You know, I just basically. With the comma was just to separate the two words here, but I just basically put with whatever word is in front, whatever ways the name can come, or you know, whatever ways the word can come in. I just put it that way. The comma doesn't necessarily mean anything. So neutrality. This is probably the most important thing that you're gonna put in your document. Okay. So neutrality. Affiant, which is me, the person who writes the affidavit. Affiant is a neutral and non-resident. Excuse me, you hear it? Affiant is a neutral and non-resident alien enemy. What is alien enemy? Anybody?
Friendly alien.
But more in the more specific term.
Meaning I am alien to your government, but I'm also friendly because I wish to do business with you.
There you go. So, again, Affiant is a neutral and non-resident alien enemy to the aforesaid corporate government, opposed to war in any form. Why did I put that? Anybody?
Because there's many forms of war.
Drafted?
Huh?
So you wouldn't be drafted or asked to be drafted?
Oh, allegiance.
So they don't see you as an enemy.
There you go. That's the term. That is it overall, but it has nothing to do with allegiance. I've already stipulated I'm not allegiance to them. But you want to be opposed to war in any form, because under the Patriot Act, they'll try to classify you as an insurgent. Okay.
Oh yeah, terrorist.
Or an enemy combatant. Okay, you don't want any of that. You're a terrorist. Okay, when they classify you as that, you go into something else, and then they can do anything they want until you declare, I'm not a terrorist. You let them know. So again, Affiant is neutral and non-resident alien enemy to the aforesaid corporate government, opposed to war in any form, including the war declared by the de facto U.S. corporate government against its subject citizens, trading with the Enemy Act. See? They declared war against their citizens and made them the subrogation, made them the property, the collateral, or what they've given over to. What's the word I'm looking for? It's not collateral. The assets. They made the people, or the citizens of that corporation, the assets that they've handed over in the bankruptcy. When they went through the bankruptcy in '33, they had to hand over assets. They pledged the people. So what they had to do is make the people the enemy of the state. That's what that goes back to, trading with the Enemy Act. And so then once they made you the enemy, then they were able to pledge you as the asset. So opposed to war in any form, including the war declared by the de facto U.S. corporate government against its subject citizens. See the Trading with the Enemy Act. and National Banking System Act. Public. And so these are all the things that made the citizens the enemy under these acts here. National Banking System Act, as well as Executive Proclamation 2038. All these different proclamations made you made the citizen or the public citizen the enemy. Affiant is amicable with the U.S. federal corporation, and this is where you can find that in their law, in their government, that they call themselves a federal corporation. It says United States means a federal corporation. So it's not some philosophical thing when you're calling them a corporation. You can show them within their own law where they call themselves a corporation. Okay.
So is that the United States Code, like the 28 titles in the United States Code? That's Title 28.
Title 28, United States Code. This means annotated.
Oh, okay.
So you have United States codes, which you'll just see just with USC, but then there's USC annotated. To see USC annotated, you got to go to the law library. Annotated means extra shit that's added onto the code that you can't read by going to the computer or going to a law website. You can only read that in the code. So, so United States codes. I know it's fucked up. That's how they get you though.
So you can go to a public library, your state public library, and the public colleges, like city colleges and state colleges, they usually have a library that have access to the public, or public have access to it.
Right.
All right.
But yes. So United States Code is annotated. You always want to look at that up. Yeah, but right now, like I said, that was 15 years ago, before Google and the database and all this. I'm sure you can find annotated codes now.
I hope so.
Remember, I wrote this document a long time ago. And is not an enemy combatant, nor insurgent, domestic, foreign, or any other type of terrorist as defined by the U.S. Patriot Act or any other. So this is probably the most important thing I wrote in this document, because now as a sovereign, they try to paint you as a separatist militant trying to go against them. See, this is how they put a military insurgent face on you, and then it gives them the right to act aggressively against you. So what you want to do is squash that from the jump. I'm an alien to me, meaning I'm an alien to your government, but I'm a friend. And again, I restated, I'm amicable, which means friendly. I'm a friend and I'm friendly with the U.S. federal corporation, as it states in here, and is not an enemy combatant. See, I've expressly stated to them, I am not an enemy combatant. I am not an insurgent. I am not a domestic, foreign, or any other type of terrorist. Bam. So you cannot label me as that now, because I've expressly, I put this out. This is public record. I've shown you that I am not. I've declared that I am not, and I'm against war in any form. All right. And you want to be that now, because you don't have the capacity. No one trying to reclaim their sovereign status right now has the capacity to do that. So taxes. Okay. Affiant is not a U.S. 14th Amendment subject to citizen or legal fiction / entity created by, for, nor on behalf of any other person, group, association, or corporation for political, commercial purposes, and is not a surety, therefore, nor assumes subrogation. What is subrogation? We went over that a couple of times. What was subrogation?
To stand in place of something.
There you go. To stand in place of. So, nor assume subrogation for or culpability on behalf thereof. Okay? Culpability means liability. Okay? Or blame. I do not pay income tax. Okay? And this is the law. This is the law right here that allows this. This is remember in America Freedom to Fascism, he gave the law case that said in the Macomber, in the Eisner versus Macomber case, it stated that what they'll try and say is that the 16th Amendment gave the government a new power to tax you, okay, to implement an income tax, the 16th Amendment. However, in this law case, in this Supreme Court case, it says that the 16th Amendment didn't give the government any new power to tax, which means if you didn't have the power, or it says it gave the government no new taxing power. So it means if you didn't have the power to tax me before the 16th Amendment, you don't have the power to tax me after the 16th Amendment, okay? That's a very important case that you're gonna put right there. So I do not pay income tax as per this case here, for I have no such contract with the Delaware corporations known as the Internal Revenue Tax and Audit Service, Inc., file number, BAM, and the United States of America, Inc., also file number, or the U.S. Treasury, Inc., file number, obligating me to do so.
Oh my God. The Treasury is also a corporation.
Okay. All of these are Delaware corporations that I have no contract with to be obliged by any income tax. Now, I gave them 3 bullets. I only needed 1. I only had to put, really, the Internal Revenue Tax and Audit Service, right? However, the underlying people who are there, who they're supposed to be working for, which is the United States of America, so I don't have a contract with them, or the IRS is supposed to be under the U.S. Treasury, right? Okay, the U.S. Treasury is a goddamn corporation. I have no contract with them. I ain't got no contract with none of y'all. None of you.
Question, with this, are you not like literally filing 0 taxes? Or
why would I file a tax? Why would I file taxes? I'll state this. And when you're in business, when you get a business that's different. This is my personal.
Gotcha.
Income tax is defined as corporate profit. So if I wanna be with 1 foot in and 1 foot out, then I get a business within that corporation. Then we're working. Now
public versus private. I got it.
Now I sign all of my documents still. If I get a corporation, an LLC or anything like that, I still sign all those documents, all rights reserved. Okay, I'm still signing those documents, all rights reserved, because there's a lot more things that they obligate you to than just paying taxes. Okay.
Wait. You mean like instead of XYZ LLC, Kevin Barringer, member, you sign it, all rights reserved?
I sign it Kevin Barringer, or whatever my name is, Kevin L. Barringer, all rights reserved. UCC 1-308.
Okay.
You sign it like that. Whenever they see the term UCC, they know what the fuck you're talking about. Let that be clear. Let that be clear. When you sign UCC, when they see UCC, they know what Uniform Commercial Code means. Now, when you sign, you can sign it without prejudice or all rights reserved. See, I don't like to be vague. I want you to know right off the bat, I'm reserving all my rights. I don't want to UCC 1-308. Yeah, that's all. I want you to know right off the bat. Kevin Barringer reserves all of his rights, like they do to you whenever you see a website. When you go to your website, look down at the bottom. It'll say all rights reserved, copyright something something, all rights reserved. Go to any corporation, you'll see all rights reserved. Go, you look at any ad that you'll see in any newspaper or it'll say all rights reserved. They do it. How come we don't? they do that shit all day long, but people don't understand what does all rights reserved mean. You look at it all day, you don't know what the hell it means. So then this is the part in the document that deals with corporate law or common law jurisdiction. As we saw, the common law affidavit. So your affidavits, your other affidavits will support this affidavit. Okay, so I have the right to travel affidavit, the common law jurisdiction affidavit, and the affidavit of non-subject status. Those are the 3 affidavits that will support this affidavit. Okay, so again, in common law, this is the common law jurisdiction. Common law jurisdiction. I voluntarily choose to comply with man-made laws not in conflict with or repugnant to the Constitution for the United States of America, the great law of peace, the common law, or the law of nations, which serve to bring harmony and peace to society. But no such laws, nor their enforcers, have any authority over me or my property. For I am not in any statutory or admiralty/maritime jurisdiction, and not of subject to status, consistent with the eternal tradition of natural common law, unless I have harmed or violated someone or their property, i.e., if there is no injured party, I have committed no crime, and therefore not subject to any penalty. Okay.
What is the significance of the asterisks that you have in front of certain things? Like you have common law jurisdiction and you have 2 asterisks in front of it.
Because I want to be invoking your common law. Everything that you have as far as what you're asserting in law is falling under the common law. Okay. And so my common law invocation or stating that I'm under common law jurisdiction is the top. All of this everything else falls under the common law. So I have to state my common law or express my common law jurisdiction, and so I want them to understand that this is the most important thing that's within the document is my expression of common law jurisdiction. Okay, so this is the page. This is the second page of the document. So you see, I got a whole lot of things going on. You see how I deal with a whole lot of things. The top part deals with the straw man. This part deals with I'm neutral. I'm not at war with your government. This part deals with taxes. I don't pay income tax. I'm not a corporation subject to the corporate straw man that you created. Nor do I have a contract with any of these entities obliging me to pay y'all. Okay. Then as well, all of this falls under my power to invoke. All of this is within my common law jurisdiction. Right. Okay. So that's that. So we're gonna go over the questionnaire. We got about half an hour left. So we're gonna go over some of the stuff in questionnaire. We'll get over a lot more of this stuff tomorrow. Questionnaire. I think we covered a lot of the stuff in the questionnaire actually, but let's see. Oops. Damn it. Come on, man.
What's those 3 affidavits again?
There's 4 affidavits that you write, actually. Man, what is it? So your main affidavit is the affidavit of the affidavit. Damn, what the hell?
Truth and status, right?
The affidavit of truth and status. The second one is the affidavit of non-subject status. And then the third one is your affidavit of common law jurisdiction. And then your fourth one is your affidavit of right to travel.
All right, I got it. Thanks.
All right. So we went over these. So So we went over a lot of this stuff already. So we didn't do. All right, somebody with their Black's Law Dictionary, look up jus spatiandi. I forgot to put that in there. Did I? I think I did. Yeah, I did. So look up jus spatiandi. I thought I had. Oh, I do have it, actually. Oh, wait a minute. Never mind. But actually, somebody else have it. I want somebody else to be able to go through this. You guys,
a right of way over land by the public by uses merely for the purposes of recreation and instruction.
Wait a minute. Okay, listen. Oops. There it is. So say that one more time.
A right of way over land by the public by uses merely for the purposes of recreation and instruction.
Bam. This has nothing to do with commerce. Remember, driver is someone who's paid to go back and forth along the highway. Okay? You're not a driver, you're a traveler. And you have the right to use the highway. Okay? And this is your right, jus spatiandi, a right of way over land by the public, by uses, a right of way over land by the public by uses merely for the purposes of recreation and instruction. It is usually limited to cases of highways, parks, and squares. The public were denied any right in the grounds containing ancient juridical monuments of stonage, blah, blah, blah. So I got the right to roll through the highways. Oops. All right. Oops, let's go back. So that's jus spatiandi. You guys make sure you got that. So we went over infancy. We went over a lot of this stuff actually already. So I'm gonna just go through it since we went over a lot. And if you guys have it, if you know it, say it. If not, if you you have your dictionary, call it out. So certificate of registry. What is that?
Certificate of the registration of a vessel.
Yeah, but what for? What's the actual definition?
That's your birth certificate, right?
It's what they've equated. Yes, your birth certificate is a certificate of registry. But look, I want someone to look up certificate of registry specifically and tell me what it means, because it has a certain phrase in there.
Working on it.
Huh? Somebody have it? Come on, y'all supposed to be prepared.
I got it. In maritime law, a certificate of the registration of a vessel according to the Registry Acts for the purpose of giving her a national character.
Bam. For the purpose of giving her a national character. Okay? National character. That's your identity. Okay, your character is your identity. That's what that's the birth certificate for. It gives you an identity within the corporation. It's like when a product comes off that conveyor line, whatever, they got to stamp it with a number. Bam. So they know what the hell it is. Keep control of it. That's you.
I like how they preface some things. It almost tips you off. Says in maritime law, it's like, oh, okay. Yeah. don't want none.
Exactly. In maritime law, this has nothing to do with you. This is only in maritime law. Like, yeah, okay. What is estoppel? We didn't go over that. Anybody has estoppel?
Actual definition or what I think?
Yes, that needs to be the exact definition.
All right, hold up. It's like the intentional misrepresentation. Hold on. Estoppel. All right. There's so many damn estoppels. All right. A man's own act or acceptance stops or closes his mouth to allege or plead the truth. An estoppel arises when one is concluded and forbidden by law to speak against his own act or deed. An inconsistent position, altitude, or course of conduct may not be adopted to loss or injury of another.
Read that again, man, and more fluidly this time.
A man's own act or acceptance stops or closes his mouth to challenge, to allege or plead the truth. So you intentionally don't tell the truth, you misspeak, you misrepresent. An estoppel arises when one is concluded and forbidden by law to speak against his own act or deed. An inconsistent position, attitude or course of conduct may not be adopted to loss or injury of another.
Sounds similar to the Fifth Amendment.
Well, what an estoppel is, it means you'll be barred by estoppel. So what that means is, or one of the ways it's used, is if I make an assertion in law about something. So an example would be, I'm asserting that I'm an Aboriginal, a descendant of the Aboriginal nations who are here. Okay, and I'm reclaiming that status. I'm telling the corporation this. Excuse me. I'm telling the corporation this. I've written my document, send it to them. I've given them notice. What you would put in there is, if you have somebody in the background, I can hear you. I can hear you. Mute your phone. So I can hear it. So, what you would say within your documents, you're going to say that any person who refutes this claim would make this claim within a certain amount of days. So you would say, I'll give you 30 days upon which to answer this assertion, or you're barred by estoppel, meaning once the 30 days is up, estoppel means just what it says right there. The main word is stop. So you take away the E and you take away the pel, you got stop, right? That's the word. That's the main word that's in there, meaning you are stopped. You can't proceed further if you've already acquiesced to what I've said. You're barred by what's called estoppel, meaning you've already said, or you've acquiesced to the fact that what he said was right. So now you're barred by estoppel from asserting the claim over again in law. You can't come back later and say, oh, well, no, I have no. You can't come back later and say, well, I have proof now that he's not the no. The law is like, no, dude, that was up. That was up 6 years ago when you had 30 days to answer that claim. Once that claim is up, you're barred by estoppel from reasserting that challenge. It's the same thing as double jeopardy or what's it?
Statutes of limitations?
Yeah, statute of limitations. There you go. That's exactly. It's the same thing like a statute of limitations. Once something reaches its statute of limitations, you can't come back and assert anything in law as far as that. It doesn't matter if it was illegal beforehand. You know what I'm saying? If somebody stole something from you 20 years ago, you pass the point of limit, the limitations where you can assert a claim or a charge against that person. So estoppel only means to stop. It means literally halt. All right. What is the Buck Act? Anyone besides Trey and David? and Will. What is the Buck Act? Anyone? We went over this like a few times. Bria, what's the Buck Act? I know you in here, Bria.
Dang, can't hide.
I see your picture up, Bria. She's like, nope. All right, D Young, what's the buck at? Nope. Y'all gonna do me like that? All right. DC?
Isn't it what puts a person under federal jurisdiction?
Well, yeah, that's there, but I'm saying, how does it create the federal jurisdiction? That's the question. What is the Buck Act, and how does it create federal jurisdiction? We went over that. You guys got to be resourceful. If you're at your computer, all you got to do is type up Buck Act in the computer in the Google, and the first page, it would come right up. The story of the Buck Act. You would be able to find it there. You guys, if you're going to be self-governing, you guys have to be resourceful. That's not even a question. Self-governing person has to take care of himself. That means you have to be resourceful. Okay, you can't rely on somebody to give you a definition, somebody to give you a right, somebody to tell you this. You guys have to be, all right, this is where I need to go find that. Well, all right, boom, all right, let me go find this here. Let me go find that there. You got to be on your P's and Q's because you are self-governing.
It's the establishment of the Social Security number that by accepting the Social Security number, you give the federal government jurisdiction over you.
Pretty much. In a more specific sense, it was when they created something called the Federal Tax Act. I think it's the Public Tax Act, where they taxed federal employees.
It was a public or Federal Salaries Act or something like that.
Public Salary Tax.
Public Salary Tax Act, where they taxed only federal employees, no matter if you were a federal employee living in another state or living within the federal jurisdiction, which created something called the federal area. So then after that, they created districts. So they created these districts. Somebody, please, if you got stuff going on.
That was my bad. That was my bad, sorry.
Mute your phone. So they created the districts. And so federal employees living within these federal districts were supposed to pay taxes. However, these districts, after a certain amount of time, they became what's called federal areas. And if you accepted anything as far as assistance from the federal government, any type of thing coming from the federal government, that puts you under jurisdiction of the federal government and puts you under the federal area. So now they were able to tax you, being that you fell under the jurisdiction of the federal area, by accepting anything, the actual term is called availing yourself of a federal privilege. Okay, so availing means benefiting to benefit or getting the benefit of a certain thing. So, but you guys need to know that Buck Act because you're understanding, or you're trying to distinguish the two jurisdictions between the federal and your state, and when did your state fall under federal jurisdiction? When did that happen? So this Buck Act is what's going to tell you when that happened. Also, the Public Salary Tax Act and the federal district, them creating the federal district. I forgot what that was. That was something too that they did, but the federal district something. I'll have that for you guys tomorrow. But this is most important. This is one of the most important things. You guys need to understand your two jurisdictions, state and federal. And the state of is the corporation. Okay, you have two different jurisdictions: state of, republic, or the state republic. State republic is the real thing. State of is the corporation, or quasi is the quasi-sovereign entity. All right. What is the definition of a surety? Anyone? Go back to my Ferris Bueller days. Anyone?
Bueller.
Bueller.
Yeah, I got you. Surety. Oh, ain't that yeah, hold up. My fault. It just left my page.
Loosely, a person who takes responsibility for another's performance of an undertaking. Basically, you're a guarantor. Grantor.
One who undertakes to pay money or to do any other act in event that his principal fails therein.
All right, you need to speak up louder and more clear. Get the Louis.
One who undertakes to pay money or to do any other act in event that his principal fails therein. One bound with his principal for the payment of a sum of money or for the performance of some duty or promise, and who is entitled to be indemnified by someone who ought to have paid or performed if payment or performance be enforced against him. A unilateral contract.
So, surety, subrogation, culpability. Lump those three words together. Surety, subrogation, culpability. You guys need to find those, look up those words. They're all the same thing. It means someone who's a liability for somebody else. That's all. That's basically all those they mean. But you guys need to know that. Okay? If somebody, these are terms that you're going to have in your documents, that if somebody came up and asked you, what does that mean? You don't want to be like, well, hold on, let me let me get my Black's Law Dictionary. Hold on 5 seconds.
Click.
Exactly. You guys need to be on point. Yourself, I'm going to pound this into your head. You're self-governing. Okay? It means self to govern, to direct, steer, to pilot. You're your own pilot. Okay? That's what you are. So know these different terms.
So straw man then.
Well, it's to be the liability for the straw man.
Right, they just reverse roles.
Yes. The surety, the subrogation, and the culpable person is the liability person for the straw man. You're the one who accepts all liability for that fictitious entity. Okay, explain Article 3, Clause 2 of the United States Constitution. Hold on, do we have the time for that? We may have to get into that tomorrow. That may be a long one. All right, we'll try that one tomorrow.
You want to read it?
Yeah, go ahead. Read it real quick. Go ahead.
You said, okay, Article 3, Clause 2. Wait, where's the section? All right, well, Section 2. The judicial power shall extend to all cases in law and equity arising under this Constitution, the laws of the United States, and the treaties made or which shall be made under this authority or under their authority. To all cases affecting ambassadors, other public ministers and consul, to all cases of admiralty and maritime jurisdiction, to controversies to which the United States shall be a party, to controversies between two or more states, between a state and citizens of another state, between citizens of a different state, between citizens of the same state claiming lands under grants of different states, and between a state or the citizens thereof and foreign states, citizens, or subjects. In all cases affecting ambassadors, other public ministers.
Hello? Did he get clicked on?
They got him.
You said they got him.
That's not funny. I'm not gonna say that again. That's messed up.
What happened? You gone? No, he's still there. Yo, he's still there. Actually, something happened to his mute. He got muted.
Well, I can continue with it because I have Constitution on the app, so I can unless he comes back.
Go ahead.
Okay. Oops. Sound like he'll be back soon. All right. So then Clause 2. In all cases affecting ambassadors, other public ministers and councils, and these in which a state shall be a party, the Supreme Court shall have original jurisdiction. In all other cases before mentioned, the Supreme Court shall have appellate jurisdiction, both as to law and fact, with such exemptions and under such regulations as the Congress shall make. Do you want to read the third?
Hello? Did he get the second?
Did he get the second? Okay. Sound like he's back. Do you want me to read the third clause too?
Keep going, keep going.
Okay. The trial of all crimes, except in cases of impeachment, shall be by jury. Oh, that's new. And such trials shall be held in the state where the said crimes shall have been committed. But when not committed within any state, the trial shall be at such place or places as the Congress may by law have directed.
Right. So now let me go back up. So clause 2. Go back to section 2, clause 2.
Okay, section 2, clause 2. You want me to read it again, or?
Yeah, read that one more time.
Okay. Section 2, clause 2. In all cases affecting ambassadors, other public ministers and consuls, and these in which a state shall be a party, the Supreme Court shall have original jurisdiction. In all other cases before mentioned, the Supreme Court shall have appellate jurisdiction, both as to law and fact, with such exemptions and under such regulations as the Congress shall make.
Right. So that means Supreme Court cases are the shit. That's what that is.
I wish they'd put that in the Constitution. That'd be awesome.
Yeah, that would have been off the chain. But what that said right there is Supreme Court cases are the shit. So
can I ask a question since you have your document up on the screen? How do you file a common law copyright? How do you register a common law copyright?
Well, you would just write whatever the hell you want to say and file it in the county. That's all.
Okay.
Common law. Remember, common law only means Supreme Court cases. That's it. It means the law or the stare decisis, or the matter has been adjudged, it's been ruled on already. So common law is not some gigantic body of law that you can go and pull from. It just means if somebody has said something already in the court and they've won, they've already asserted the same thing I'm saying, then I don't need to do all this work in order to bring it back up against the court. Like, this dude has already said what I've said, he's won, here it is. That's all common law really is. But what you're talking about is just being able to write your own documents. If you're trying to write some type of document, write your own documents. I did that all when I was in the preamble nation. That's what I did. I wrote my own car registration. I wrote, my own IDs, my identification. I think I showed you guys that. Did I show you guys my ID?
No, or maybe you did, but I'm late, so.
Oh man! I have. Oh, it's not in this one actually. It's
Okay, so if you're in the if you're creating documents, if you're writing a book, instead of trademarking through the usual way or whatever, there's an advantage of doing it the common law way.
Well, common law, you're not under any statutory jurisdiction. It's either common law or statutory law. So common law, meaning you're just doing it. You're doing it of your own right, and you have the right to do it and say what the hell you need to say and record that. Statutory law means you have to follow some type of stipulations or policies that will put money in the pocket of the government. That's what that means. So one is just completely private; it's on you. Then the other, you have to engage with the court, with the government. Now this is when I was in the preamble. Oops, shit. This is when I was in the preamble government. So this was my ID. Okay. And so I don't know what your law state in California, out there where you are, but in California, you don't have to have a state of California ID. That's in the actual vehicle codes. You can vehicle code any ID with a name, address, identifying number, signature. All it just has to do is have the state certain stipulations of what your law has as far as an ID, and it can be accepted. So, like I had a domestic dispute one time with my girl, and I was in Beverly Hills, and police came, and they came to the house because I was trying to leave, and my girl was tripping and trying to grab me and pull me back in the house. So somebody in the other apartment, they called the police. And I'm tripping. I'm trying to leave the house because my girl at the time, she was Jewish. And I knew that the police came and there's a brother there in the damn house in a domestic dispute case with a Jewish girl. They was probably going to try to smash me. So I'm trying to bounce, and she holding on. She trying to bounce. She trying to hold him. No, don't go nowhere. We need to talk, bro. I'm like, look, let me go. So she ripping my shirt or whatever. Police get there, and they like, what's going on here? So they knock on the door, boom. And so they tried to walk in the door. And I'm like, look, man, I'm trying to leave. They said, look. So they broke her apart. They were like, look, you stay over there. They told her, you stay over there, and they told me to come here. So they're talking. Like, yeah, what's going on? Like, man, I'm trying to bounce. I've been trying to bounce for the last 20 minutes. I can't leave. So they said, yeah. So they start talking to me and this and that. So I was in this at the time. I didn't have a California ID. So I said, yeah, so let me see, you have any ID on you? So I gave them this. And they said, yeah, so what's this? So I tell them I'm a preamble citizen and, about the government and this and that. And so they take the ID and they go to the car and they run the ID. And they come back. They said, man, that's a pretty interesting ID you got there. He's like, man, it's like, we never seen anything like that. And so they handed it back. And that's all they said. They were like, so yeah, man, so how we gonna handle it? I was like, look, I'm trying to leave. They said, yeah. He's like, you can say, go ahead and get your things. You can leave. They was holding her because she kept trying to bust through the police officers to get to me. So she was actually being the more hostile one at the time. So they was like, yeah, we can see what happened here. So they was like, yeah, we're gonna hold her. You go ahead and get your stuff and you can bounce. But this ID, remember, this is Beverly Hills police officers we're in Beverly Hills. This ID, they looked at this ID, took one look at it, ran it, and boom, and gave it right back to me and said, hey, you're good, and you can bounce. So I said that just to show you that you don't have to have their documents on you. It would, it's easier to have their documents and to be able to flow through society. Now, this is back when I was, when I had a government behind me and I had more people to be able to back me up if I got into some shit. Whereas that's not the case right now. So I would never use any of these documents. You know what I'm saying? I would just use their document as far as being, like I said, having 1 foot in and 1 foot out. Oh, this is my license plate that I had on my car.
Now, when they run those type of plates or whatever, are those in the system or something, or how does that work?
No. Well, if it was in the system, then then it wouldn't be sovereign. So
yeah, that wouldn't be his car.
That wouldn't be my car if they was in the system.
So how does that work when they, cops stupid?
Well, when they
not to do it now because they're looking for a sovereign citizen.
Well, I never got pulled over with this on my car. Like I was rolling with this on my car for like a good year. I never got pulled over. My ex-girl did because her energy was different than mine. I was young, dumb, and confident. So if they pulled me over, and I say dumb because I didn't understand fully everything that I was going to assert at the time, but I was confident in it. So when you have confidence in some shit, that's a great equalizer and shit. So I'd be smashing down, Melrose. I was doing 80 down Melrose, 80 something actually down Melrose, I believe. And the cop pulled behind me, and I was like, "Oh shit, here we go!" And I just knew they were about to pull me over. They looked at these plates. They were still behind me for about a minute. They were still behind me for about 2 minutes, and they ain't do nothing. We're going about 80. This is early in the morning on like a Sunday morning. I'm doing 80 down the street. They behind me, and then all of a sudden they pulled from behind me and mashed out and smashed past me and just took on off. I was like, oh shit. They ain't do nothing. I'm like, all right, great. In the car again with 4 brothers. We were all sovereign cats at this time though. We were all brothers in the preamble government. pull us over. Actually didn't pull us over. Actually, they rolled up alongside of us. There's 4 big old brothers in the car. They rolled behind us, then rolled on the side of me at the stoplight. We had the stoplight, so they're lower than me. So I look down at them. The one cop, he looked up at me and he just gave me the head nod. What's up? I said, what's up? And then they just kept on mashing.
I'm asking that because I'm saying I'm asking that because you see what's how they doing now. Right. You know what I'm saying? They just
this is a real license plate. I'll say this.
Yeah.
This is a real ass license plate. This ain't some bullshit. This is a license plate you would go get from the government. I just had this made up. My ex-girl, she was a graphic designer, and so she did the whole design. And then I found a movie prop place that makes whole movie sets and movie props. And they had an actual license plate printing printer press, like an actual big ass super machine that printed license plate.
Right.
They printed that shit out.
You should have those kind of friends. That's kind of convenient.
Yeah, because everybody else. What'd you say?
So I wish I had those kind of friends. It's kind of convenient.
As a graphic designer, I know. Well, she was my girl at the time. I mean, dude, the universe, that happened because, the universe put us together for a reason. Because she designed a lot. She designed this ID. She designed a whole lot of the shit that we were doing at the time. So that was supposed to happen. I just say that was something in the universe that was supposed to. This is the back of the ID. You guys see this law on the back of the ID. So all this law I have on the back of my ID. You guys can see that?
Yeah, so you got all the laws and all that stuff on there. I noticed on the license plate too, you had, USO. Yeah.
So you want to use their laws as well because they're more familiar with their laws, and if you can explain what you're doing in their laws, it's faster. It just moves faster. And instead of saying, I'm a preamble citizen and I ain't with the government, I ain't a 14th Amendment citizen.
Right. Because they ain't trying to hear that.
Yeah, who got time for all that shit? Like, man, say what the hell needs to be said the quickest way in the quickest way you can say it. So, and that's the one thing about, wisdom is discernment. You know what I'm saying? It's being able to use whatever knowledge you need to use at the time you need to use it. Okay, that's really what wisdom is. So if I don't have to say, 50 million things to get me out of this situation at the time, why would I do that? If I don't need to, why do it? That just makes no sense. I'm only doing it now for my ego. So that, I know that I know all this. Like the Moors who be in the street and be sitting there with the police officers and be going, and you in Title 28 and you was in violation of booty whoop and you are working under color of law and color of authority and whoop, whoop, whoop and black. Yeah, nigga, you sound great. And motherfuckers you got a gang of views on YouTube and this and that. But your ass is still sitting outside on you're still being detained against your will out on the street while you talk all this stuff. Now, I will say this. Knowing how to talk the law is one of the most important things you can do because it calms the officer down because they understand law. They don't understand like, man, what you doing? What did I do? Show me, man, I ain't do nothing. Ooh. They don't understand that. That's all that says is jack me up some more. But when you start to say, first of all, asking for the name and badge number, you get that. Then you start to say, you're acting under a color of authority. You're not acting in your proper person. You start to say certain laws, title 28 says boom, boom, boom says this. So your title 18 says this. You're going back and forth. Title 8. When you start hitting them with that type of stuff, they understand that law. And even though you may be you're under the sovereign movement or this and that, they will not touch you. Go and look at all the goddamn Moore videos where they're not being belligerent. They're just sitting there spouting the law. Those cops ain't touching them. They may be searching their property or this, but the cops ain't touching them. They're not jacking them up. They don't have guns on them and doing all that. You know why? Because they understand like these motherfuckers know a little something about the law that can come back and bite me in the ass. So I better just not touch this person. So
does it require saying all of that, or you could just simply say, when you're stopped, since you're using their documentation where they're asking for like your driver's license and insurance, could you just say, I'm not engaged in any regulatable activity?
No.
And I'll put my driver's license on the dashboard. I'll give you permission to grab it, but I don't want to hand it to you because I don't want to give any presumption that I'm engaged in any regulatable activity. And I'm just going to be quiet or remain.
Well, first of all, that's good. But if you're remember though, if you're gonna sever all your contracts, if you're gonna have those contracts severed and have all your paperwork in, you don't need to do all of that. Just dude, remember, wise, wisdom. You want to be wise in what you're doing. To govern yourself, you need to be wise. And so, how can I move freely with the least amount of friction? So, if I have my paperwork in, it's like this. I equate it to the same way in basketball. So, anybody know anything about basketball? When you're playing defense, if I'm playing perimeter defense, right? I don't necessarily need to stay in front of my defender. If I have Shaq or, somebody like Shaq or a big, tall 7-footer, guarding the rim. What do I usually do if I'm on the perimeter and I'm guarding somebody and I got a 7-footer in the middle? Does anybody know anything about basketball? Tell me. No. What I do is funnel that dude to my 7-footer because he's the backup. He's the ultimate. He's like my safety net. So basically what I don't want to do, I'm not going to stand in front of this guy and work so hard to try and stop him from scoring. What I'm going to do is initiate to him what I want to happen. So I'm going to stay where, if he's a right-handed guy, right? I'm going to lean more to his right side and not let him go that way and funnel him left to my big, tall 7-footer that's in the middle waiting for him to come in there and pull up a shot so we can swat that shit into the top row, right? So same thing, which is what your paperwork is. When you're out there and you get pulled over by a police officer, you're not going to sit up here and fight this dude. You're not going to sit up here and be trying to back and forth and go back and forth with this guy and be like, no, I'm not a 14th Amendment citizen. Don't do all that, dude. Sign the notice of appearance, all rights reserved. You've reserved all your rights to cancel that contract now. Now your big 7-footer is your paperwork. What you're going to do is send in your paperwork of how they don't have any jurisdiction over your person and let that speak for you.
So you don't submit that in advance to kind of have like be on a do not detain list? No. You submit your paperwork in advance so you don't have any contractual obligations to the corporation. So now you have their documents, but these documents are only held out of duress. So they don't have no obligation over you. That's how they get you. So you got their documents. Those documents are contracts. When you sign that, you agree to abide by their policies. So now once you severed your contracts, you've destroyed or rescinded that obligation. Now you can have it only for face evidence. So you don't get beat by the billy club or you don't get held up when performing your affairs, going about your personal affairs. Now, what you do after that, once you dealt with the cop and you've gotten away safely, just a random or a routine stop. Now you have what's called a notice to appear. That case goes to court. Now you submit your paperwork to court and telling them they don't have any jurisdiction over you to even hear this case. Now, what that does is when you challenge their jurisdiction, they have to prove it. No matter whatever you got stopped for, if you got stopped for having 8 pounds of cocaine in your car, if you got stopped for that, and you're supposed to go to court, and you challenge their jurisdiction, they still have to prove jurisdiction first before they even deal with any goddamn 8 pounds of cocaine. They got to prove that they have jurisdiction over your person to adjudicate that. So that's what your paperwork is for. It's telling them they don't have any jurisdiction over you. You don't have any contracts with them to oblige by any of their policies. And if they do, then they need to bring forth the contract. So, where's the contract? They have to prove it. They have to bring it.
They just can't say, oh, yeah, we do. They got to prove it. They got to raise that contract with my signature on it. They have to pull that shit into court and show your signature on that document that obligates you. Your signature on that document without all rights reserved on that document. That's what they got to pull in. If they can't bring that, then this whole thing is quashed. All right, this is 3 hours after. Y'all got me hungry again. Sitting up here 3 hours, talking for 3 hours.
I got one more question.
Yeah, go ahead.
Thank you. So then, oh, damn you. Anyway, in terms of jurisdiction of the courts, what court, with all of your severed contracts, what court would have jurisdiction over you, if any?
Zero.
None?
Zero. Why would any court have jurisdiction over you if you're not in that corporate, if you're not in the corporation? Who would have
talking about the De Jure County?
Would have jurisdiction over you if you committed a common law crime. That's what would have jurisdiction over you. So if you killed somebody, or if you beat up somebody, if you burned somebody's house down, or if you destroyed their car, or anything like that, or if you desecrated a certain place, a certain public place, then those things they can have jurisdiction over you. Those are common law crimes. So if you injured, if you destroyed a place, vandalized the place, vandalized somebody's property, or beat the hell out of somebody or killed them, then you're under jurisdiction. But if none of those things have happened, there's no injured party, and there's no crime that's been committed.
Okay.
That's it.
So you just send in your paperwork, like you said, if you were to get stopped for whatever.
Say that again?
I said you would just send your paperwork in, basically, if you were to get stopped for whatever, or anything happened, you have to
If anything happened, I'll say this: if you want to go to court, like if you want to sue somebody else, then you can submit yourself to the jurisdiction of the court because you're looking for that outcome. So it's not taboo to be under the jurisdiction of the court if you want to. Like, so if I'm going to sue somebody else, then I would submit myself to the jurisdiction of the court so they can, so they can adjudicate that case. Otherwise, but if they're trying to criminally come against me, or even if somebody was civilly trying to come against me in a civil action, then, if it's a civil action claiming that I've wronged so most civil action can be something, let's say, a civil action can be something that says, oh, they come at you for libel. Oh, you've defaced my name. How can you? That can be a civil suit. That's not. I haven't wronged anyone. I haven't hurt anyone. There's no injured party. Therefore, I'm not under that jurisdiction. I can talk shit about you. That's the right of. That's called the damn nigga.
Hungry, I know.
My constitutional right to speech. So and that's what that is. So nobody can come at you for that. Now, like I said, if you kicked their door down, or if you slashed their tires or busted their windows or something like that, then they can come at you. That's a common law crime, and you're actually bound, or the court can take cognizance of that case.
Okay.
All right.
I got a million questions, but I'm cool. I'll ask you.
You got a million questions? Give me another one before we go. What's the other one?
Okay. Well, as far as the paperwork and everything that you submit is concerned, when you send that in, or you just basically wait on them to not send you that because they're probably not gonna respond or something like that, or
they can't respond. You give 30 days for them to respond. After 30 days, it becomes law. That's the rule of law. If I've given you constructive notice and time in an ample amount of time to respond to the notice, if you do not respond to the notice, what does tacit consent mean? We just read it. That goes for everybody.
Right.
For you. What is tacit?
So silence is basically compliant.
Yep.
So they basically forfeited their right to respond, basically, if they.
Yep. That's called acquiescence or tacit consent, meaning you silently agreed. Dude, it's all about remember, it's all about expression. Who are you? Then who are you, then how do I know who you are? You have to tell me. I'm due. Otherwise, you leave it to me to presume or assume who you are. And if it's left to me, then I'm gonna assume who you are for the benefit of me. If they don't assume who you are for the benefit of you, like I'm gonna say, look here, nigga. I just thought you said come in and fuck your wife and and take all your kids and take your house. My bad. You didn't want that to happen? Oh, I'm sorry. You didn't.
You should have said something. My bad.
And I walked through the door and I grabbed your wife and walked upstairs. You didn't say nothing. So see how that's tacit consent.
It just seemed like they'd be like, man, we don't care nothing about what you're talking about. You know what I'm saying? We forget whatever. I'm just saying, maybe they don't do that, but I'm just saying.
I mean, just basically from history, that history tells you that they just
They'd be like, man, fuck you. So what?
They've broken every treaty ever. So,
but they're not breaking the treaty. As we saw when we were reading the treaty,
right?
The treaty is worded
right
under protection of the United States. Do you see the terms? They don't break anything. They just word it a certain way and use the King's English, which they know the Native Americans don't know that shit. They're familiar. I mean, they've been working with some colonies and some of that stuff, but a lot of that stuff they're not familiar with. So they come in and use word like protection. You think protection means something different than what they mean. Protection means now you're subservient. You're a tributary to the United States. They didn't think they meant that. They just thought that meant that, okay, if I get in some shit, then the United States is going to help me out. Just like
I thought even with that definition, still they broke the treaty because they kept taking the land and moving them.
They broke the treaty.
It wasn't just a difference in definition.
Yeah, they broke the treaty. They broke the alliance with the Native Americans when they
didn't break the alliance. First of all, in the first Delaware one, when they did the chiefs, the main chief, White Eyes, died before they got a chance to implement the treaty. Then as well, when you a lot of the heads of these different tribes came in and they actually gave over their tribes within the treaties. Like they
all right. So this is what I'm saying. Okay, when Sitting Bull was when they made an alliance saying that he was going to come in and it was going to be a peaceful meeting, and then they arrested him. What is that called then?
They didn't have a contract.
They just said they were not going to arrest him and just come in as cool, and then they arrested him. How's that?
I'd have to go back and go over go over the actual stipulations of what went down. But I don't, you know what I'm saying, until I'm able to see the stipulations of what went down, because knowing the law, I know everything is different when you start reading the paperwork behind it.
Okay.
It all jumps out in a completely different way. Now, he may not have been cognizable or understanding of what was going on, because these are terminologies and laws that come from their society. So, you know what I'm saying, he may have thought he knew, but he may not have known what was going on. Now I have to go back and read and look at that to understand what went down behind that.
So basically, in other words, you're saying if you're versed in their law, then you're able to basically fight everything they said in terms of paperwork.
That's why we go through that shit. That's why we go through.
No, I totally understand about status though. Even when you start reading about status in history, like even when you talk about the Moors and Africa, all of them, they all lived up under a flag and their house, and you know what I mean. That's how they separate themselves from people and so-called black people and all that stuff. That's how they separate themselves.
You got your, and I'll say this again and again: get yourself a family crest or your coat of arms. Okay, that's going to be your family's coat of arms throughout.
Absolutely.
Okay?
But again, everything is moot unless there's a community to back you, because you can't be sovereign by yourself.
That's not true, though.
Not so.
Yeah, that's not true.
You can't claim sovereign unless there's
unless you have more than one person, right?
Yeah. If there's two people, then you can claim sovereign.
Yeah.
Two people is a sovereign nation. One person is not. So, but what you can do is you can contract and self-govern all day long. You don't have to be obligated to anyone as far as contracting. See, contracting is from time immemorial. That goes back to Sumerian times when the law of agreement, agreement and acceptance. That's from beginning of time. So what you're talking about, you're right as far as nationwide sovereignty and all that, yeah. But as far as contracting and just doing your own thing, carrying out your private affairs, you can do that all day without having to be a part of an actual nation. I'm saying you can subvertly and just surf through these different laws all day long. That's basically what you're learning to do right now, unless we all agree to come together and create a nation. You know what I'm saying? But that's a different level. What you're doing right now is you're learning how to take yourself out of the obligation of contract with them and place yourself in the position of power. Have the power in contract. Whereas
that's the advanced class.
Yeah, we got some more stuff to get into, but I just want to show y'all real quick before we go some other stuff that we're gonna get into. I think I did this.
Well, if you look while you're looking for stuff, I did have another question. Now, this would be probably maybe like decades into the future, once hopefully this information and true knowledge is disseminated throughout the United States, or this landmass, at least. I would imagine that the federal government sees, hears, knows a lot. They know this exists, and they would know that this for them and their existence would be dangerous to their authority. Do you, at that point, when, say, it's no longer just several, maybe at this point, tens of thousands, maybe hundreds of thousands of people at most would know that there were Moors. Do you think that treaties and paperwork would stand, like they wouldn't just shoot me anyways, for example? Do you think that the status, even if it numbered in a multitude of people, would stand against them just suddenly seeing that the law is not in their favor because it was written for sovereigns. It was written for sovereign people. Like, so suddenly when they see the law is not winning for them, and they become, hopefully they don't, but they become lawless. Do you think that would ever happen?
What happened in history to everyone that claimed that was building a nation that didn't have gold, that didn't have an army, right? The Branch Davidian were bombed. The Nubian nation the leaders were in prison. It's like, you got to have you got to be totally autonomous.
Everything you're talking about is these cats didn't have the law correct, man. I'm going, dude. First of all, me and Zoe, we were with the Nubian nation. So Zoe was the top teacher in the Nubian nation. He was the right hand man of Malachi York. He was like his son.
Well, this nigga is just keeping this shit, all types of shit on hold, huh? He ain't never said nothing like that.
You gotta keep his sponsors, man.
Well, that was a long time ago, and
but still, that's some interesting information to know.
Yeah, that was the only person, not like I'm real knowledgeable, but that's the only person I heard that was actually trying to create an actual real nation where you're autonomous.
He was, but he didn't know the law right. he had the nation building part down, but he didn't have the law correct.
Yahweh Ben Yahweh too was one. He was also a person that was really, really knowledgeable in law. But go ahead, Kev.
Yeah. Oh yeah, you're right. Yahweh Ben Yahweh. Yeah. But these Malachi York, he just, a lot of the things he did, he got a lot of the people, a lot of the women to write, like a lot of the books. The women were writing most of the books and stuff like that. He was very knowledgeable. He came up in the Nation of Islam, and he came up under certain Masonic umbrellas where they taught him a lot. And he actually, I learned a lot about Masonry from him. Actually, he has a book that he actually wrote after they put him in jail, because he was actually holding the secrets. He would only allude to a lot of certain stuff. Then after they put him in jail, he wrote a book when he was in jail, breaking off all the Masonic shit. I mean, he killed it. I mean, he killed them. Like from the very first the very first degree all the way down to the 33rd degree. He broke off all that esoteric shit. So they don't like him because of that. That's one of the things. But then he didn't secure his status right correctly, or he wouldn't. They wouldn't have him in jail. If his jurisdiction, if they had him under the correct jurisdiction, they wouldn't be in jail. But what they claimed him with was on some other shit. They claimed, they were claiming that he was
child abuse or something.
Pedophilia, yeah.
So that would fall under common law jurisdiction if he actually did it. But once they got him in there, see, he didn't have the paperwork correct. He wasn't separated from the nation correctly. See, he was using the Washita nation, the Empress Verisi, whatever her name was. He was using her as the umbrella for the Nubian nation. He was under that umbrella, which he didn't understand because she's acknowledged by the UN. See, she has a number or something that they acknowledged by the UN, but the UN is just a private corporation as well, owned by the Rockefeller. So you know what I'm saying? You're putting yourself under all these different umbrellas where he didn't do it correctly. Now that's his problem. Or that was his problem. Now they got him now, so they ain't gonna let him go now. But he just didn't have his paperwork right.
Hey, what's the name of that book he wrote about the Masons?
Huh?
What's the name of that book he wrote about the Masons? The Masons.
I gotta go back. I gotta look it up again. I don't have it here. Somebody took it. Somebody jacked me, of course. That's why I don't get my books out no damn mo. But I'm serious, man. Niggas, I had 2 libraries, dude. I had a super library, bigger than the one I got like 3 big ass bookcases of books right now, and then in every bookcase there's books on the floor in front of those bookcases. This is my smaller library. I had a bigger one before that, and cats would jack my books. And, I was all nice and let cats take books and, oh yeah, man, I'm gonna bring it back next week. Ain't heard nothing from them niggas in 20 years. 20 years.
I bet you we all victims of that. We all victims of that.
Man, well, see, man, I ain't no victim anymore. See, I planned after that. I said, okay, that's the way it's going down. Anybody, y'all can come over here and you can read anything I have in my library, but you're not walking out that door with it. Sit here all day like a library, sit back, bring you some drink, some food, sit back, take you a chair, and read all day, but you ain't walking out the door with those books. So just real quick, because I'm hungry as shit. So to get into this is what we're getting into. This is court procedure documents. Okay, I want you guys to type in Google if you can. I want you guys to be familiar with this paperwork. Legal format paper. Okay, and type it in and go to images. If you can get a template, right? Type in template. So if you can download a template, that's even better. So you need to have this. See all this numbered paper? This is what the court accepts. Okay, so whenever you're writing your document, you're going to write everything that's in your affidavits. You're going to write it in this form, and then your affidavits will be in support of this. Okay, most people just send affidavits and think, oh, the affidavit is going to speak for me. No, the affidavit is not in legal form. People write 50 million affidavits in 50 million different ways. So they need a uniform way to understand what you're saying, and then the affidavits are in support of your argument. Right?
Yeah, my girl is a lawyer, luckily. So
who was that?
Got all that. What's up?
Oh, you? That's Gene?
Yeah.
Your girl's a lawyer?
Banking contracts.
What? Tell her to tell her to mail me some of them.
Yeah, we need your girl.
Yeah, quit playing.
I told her, man.
Please help. I'll give you my address and all that. You think I'm playing?
Right.
I'm trying to save some money on shit.
You told her what? What'd you tell her?
I was like, yo, you need to step in on this little thing right quick. Because I'm like, you do contracts and banking. And all that stuff. I have like 4 Black Laws Dictionary, the whole library of law shit.
She got it on? Oh, snap. Oh, you got the head start then. You got a law library already?
Yeah. But I gotta soak it all in. It's just she know a lot of stuff, but I gotta
she don't know a lot of this stuff.
Right. Yeah, right.
A lot of what they learn in law school is not what they teach.
It's different, yeah. I chop it up with her about, what we're talking about and everything. It's like, oh, okay, but a lot of the terms and the like writing an affidavit, that's nothing. She's like, oh, okay, you wanna
That's right.
Affidavit. I got it right here. Yeah. Okay. All right.
Word. Okay, but she need to learn how to write. You need to teach her this stuff so she can write you affidavits like this, or you can write your own affidavits like this.
Exactly.
Well, isn't there an affidavit form in Microsoft Word? There's a pleading form.
No,
right?
Hey, what'd you just say?
There's a.
I see it right here. It's the legal pleading template.
They
have a legal
wait.
Okay.
What is the damn operative word you just used right there, Trey?
Pleading.
Pleading.
It was Ty that said it, but I'm just saying the form that it's called in Microsoft Word. I know we don't want to do a pleading, but I'm just saying under the templates, that's what it's called. That has that format.
Right. Now, there is no actual affidavit format. An affidavit, look up the word affidavit. Actually, we should have done that already. Really quick, somebody got affidavit before we go?
A written statement confirmed by oath or affirmation for use as evidence in court.
Bam. There's no template for your oath or you just write it how you see it. This is how I see it. You know, so there's people who've written up templates where you can probably write it like that. But when you're claiming certain stuff like this, it's not necessarily an actual template. I guess I created the template. There's one that Trey found that was similar to the document I had, where it was claiming a lot of the stuff that I'm claiming without the actual law behind it, though. Trey can send that to y'all if y'all get with Trey.
In other words, you are the lord of your paperwork.
Yes.
I don't remember that shit, though.
You are self-governing. If y'all don't get that in your mind, you can't be self-governing unless you understand what that means. Mm-hmm. You do you.
You are the don of your paperwork.
You do you. You don't do nobody else. Don't let nobody else do you. You do you.
And Kev, stay off the meat.
Stay off the what? Hey, man. Is that Jay? Look here, man. Got Fatburger coming right now, partner.
Nigga, I'm hungry as shit. You need to get the fuck off of here.
No. I got Fatburger coming right now, partner.
Hungry as shit.
Don't hate, man. Don't hate. It's a turkey burger. It's a turkey burger, man.
All right, y'all.
Turkey burger.
Hey, look, bro.
I'm going to catch y'all later.
All right, stay off that meat.
So we're going to get into this. I recorded my whole thing. Actually, let me give y'all a preview.
Oh, shit. You got to keep me on here.
And I'll give y'all a preview of this. And don't try to write any of this shit without knowing what the hell you're doing. I'm telling you, you're going to trapdoor yourself. So
trapdoor yourself. God damn, that shit sounds strong as hell.
It is.
Trapdoor yourself.
Declaration of rights. See, so I have an affidavit of truth and status, right? Okay, what this is a declaration of my status, okay, and my rights. So I'm declaring them to the court. Then the declaration continued. So this is how your documents are going to look. This is a uniform way where the judge can pick this up and look and go bam, 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 bam. Oh, I see what the hell he's saying. Okay, all right, I got that. He's talking to me. Okay, that's pretty good right there. Then what you do is you do something called a memorandum of points and authorities. So this is the point I'm stating. This is the law that backs me up behind my points. Okay. I'll give you all the rest of this tomorrow, though. I don't need to hear all this shit now. But this is how we're gonna get into this shit. All right.
All right, sir.
All right, y'all. So I will see you guys tomorrow.
All right, take care, man.
All right.
All right.